It's like a pizza crunch without the batter. It's like the wood juice without the water. You'll never get the knickers I found. What a fucking chance. Premeditated patter. Premeditated patter. So, Sean Toal, great to have you on the podcast.
Cheers, mate.
Host of the Social Sessions podcast, and it delves into the fractures in society that lead to drug addiction, crime, prison, and injustice. For the viewers that don't know you, but I know you quite well enough, you've also suffered your own form of injustice by serving 15 years of a life sentence for a crime that you didn't commit. Can you start off by telling us the chain of events that led to your imprisonment?
So obviously I can't really, there's the intricacies of my case, I can't really go into like a lot, do you know what I mean? But basically what happened was, so the gist of it was kind of just, we were out for a night out. One of my pals was seeing a lassie who was like the guy who got killed. It was like he was seeing his missus, and a fight basically broke out in the garden, and a poor boy lost his life, do you know what I mean? So that was a kind of gist of it, do you know what I mean? There's a lot more in it, do you know what I mean? But it's kind of just, I'm not really ready to talk about all that kind of stuff yet, Jordan, do you know what I mean?
Nah, that's fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. So where did it go for there? See, when you went through the court process, how many of you were accused at the time?
So there was 4 of us accused at the time, and we went to court, basically kind of, as the court case went on, it filtered into kind of just myself and another co-accused of mine. And it was kind of both of us, so it was that's probably where the argument comes in, is was it there's a thing called, it's kind of like joint enterprise, it's called I can't even remember the name of it. It's basically acting in concert, that's what it's called, acting in concert, and it's basically taking you as a group and charging you as a group,
right?
So that kind of fell away as the trial went on. And they kind of just focused on the person that done the fatal blow, and that's where a lot of the kind of legalities and logistics kind of form about my case, is whether it was a kind of art and part case, or it was a kind of solo case. But obviously again, that would be going into intricacies, and I can't really go into it, do you know what I mean? But just for other reasons. But the court case was itself very traumatising for everybody involved. I can only imagine how everybody, all families involved were, because it was really traumatising for myself, do you know what I mean? Very, very kind of intimidating in the court, when you're kind of in front of a judge and stuff like that. It's really intimidating, and probably just that whole thing, when I just remember when I got to kind of guilty, it was like that surreal moment where everything was kind of going slow, and it was just like, I honestly can't even really remember it, do you know what I mean? It was just like everything was going slow, it was just really, really, it was just, I just remember being absolutely traumatised with it, and then walking down the stairs, do you know what I mean? And it was just so, I can't even put it into words, do you know what I mean? It was just so bad. And when I got down the stairs, I just burst out greeting, and I was just saying to my lawyer, look, like, I can't do this, man, like, I can't do it. And obviously, so you got that guilty, and then we called back up to court like 4 weeks later, and then that was when I got 15 years. I got 15 years with a life sentence. And obviously I was sent to Pullman Young Offenders at that stage.
Mm-hmm. See, in the lead up to your guilty verdict, how long did the trial last?
So the trial was like, I think it was like 6 weeks or something like that.
Was there at any point in the trial you thought that you might have got a guilty, or did you think you were always going to walk?
No, I stupidly probably thought that I was going to, like, it was always going to just kind of go the way, like, in my head that it was going to go, do you know what I mean? It was always kind of, so it was a shock when I got the guilty, because I was out in bail as well.
Right.
So I was out in bail, which probably was like a false kind of, just a false kind of environment where you think that you're not going to, you're going to, there's no really. So it was weird walking in off the street, kind of to get like the a guilty like for a life sentence, just and that was it, away for like 15 years. Do you know what I mean? So it was like, and then a kind of split second, you were away for the vast majority of my adult life. Do you know what I mean?
But see, you said you had a co-accused during the trial. What happened to him?
So two of my co-accused, the case fell against him, and one of the other co-accused kind of just went with me to the end and got a not proven, which he should have got. He still probably got a not guilty in my eyes. Do you know what I mean? But he got not proven. So that was kind of the way the trial went. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of. I mean, the legalities and the stuff that are involved are so intricate. It's really is for another time, in the way that you would need to delve into a lot of stuff. Do you know what I mean? To kind of even start talking about it. Do you know what I mean?
No, of course. See, when you went to Pullman, was that your first time in Pullman?
Aye. So obviously when it first happened, it still kind of like haunts me to this day. Like when the incident happened, my mum and that were up at I think they were away to Aviemore or something like that. So it was my gran that was watching me, and obviously my wee granny, I adored my wee granny. She was watching me, so she got a phone call and basically said like, Sean's in trouble. Can you bring like coats, like clothes and stuff? He's got court, and she was like, oh, has he been involved in a fight? Like what's happened? What's happened here? Has he been involved in like what like that? Is he just been stupid? Has he been drinking in the street? Whatever. Like, and they obviously told her at the police station, like, no, it's serious. It's a boy's lost his life here, and obviously my granny kind of was just left in that police station herself. So that kind of haunts me. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of image. Do you know what I mean? So we went to Pullman for there. We were in Pullman for 6 weeks, I think, and then we were all given High Court bail. So the 40s were all out on High Court bail. So that was like my first time in Pullman, and it was probably like surreal in the way, again, like it was right into like Alley, which was Spey Hall at the time. Totally burst bubble in the way that you're maybe think you're for Cumbernauld and you've got like you think like whatever you just think like the streets and stuff like that. You don't know nothing. Do you know what I mean? You go into these places and you actually see guys who are hardened criminals and stuff like that. And then it becomes real. Do you know what I mean? It is really quite intimidating. I mean, there is it's like a funny story in the way that when I first went in, I had a suit on, and obviously I wasn't expecting to get guilty, so I had a suit on and stuff like that. So when I've hit the kind of obviously reception in Pullman, we're sitting in I said to the guy, listen mate, I says, I've not got shoes or nothing. I says, I've got these like black Italian fucking dress shoes, you know what I mean? Like, and he gave us a boiler suit, and it was like a small, like obviously you see I'm a big guy, you know what I mean?
Never fits you then, man.
And it had a fake night tick and all that on it, and I was like, somebody drew it on my pen, right? And I was like, I says, mate, I says, I can't, I says, I've got shoes. So I was walking up the hall, first time in, with this boiler suit, it's up to there in my legs, there on my arms, all buttons all undone, no buttons or nothing, with these Italian shoes on. And I just remember walking into the hall and everybody all just looking at you, do you know what I mean, as if, who is this fucking guy, do you know what I mean? But I didn't have a bag, I wasn't expecting to go in, nothing like that, do you know what I mean? So it was...
I said nothing.
So it was a massive eye-opener when I went into Pullman. It was like that where you think you know the streets and stuff like that, but that bubble was just burst instantly, do you know what I mean? In how intimidating and how you actually seen how other people lived, do you know what I mean, and stuff like that.
You see the other side of it, because you probably like myself, it used to, when I first went to Pullman, I'd always heard about it, Pullman this, and it was like Disneyland almost. There's like people who use in Pullman, you always, that curiosity, and everybody's like that to a degree, they want to know what it's like in jail, and you've got all these perceptions, but once you go in, you're like, a part of you's kind of like, is this it? But then at the same time, you're like, this is it. It's a weird thing, there's almost that, there's so many fucking curiosities getting extinguished, but the same thing as well, man, you're like, right, this is fucking, it's like getting into the fucking zoo, but you're getting into the enclosure, you're not getting into the safe side where you can look through the glass and go away and get
the gorillas.
Exactly, man. So see, when you went in that first night, do you remember your first night in Pullman? Were you dubbed up with anybody?
So the first night I went in, I knew a couple of the guys who were there, and obviously they kind of come up and were just obviously saying sorry here, like you got guilty, blah blah. And I remember like the one day I was in North Wing, and so this was the first time I obviously just getting guilty, and I was just like sitting, and it was like there was a windy, and I remember like it was just like a whistle, see like a whistle. And obviously I couldn't shut it up. I was like, it was just in my nut and I couldn't sleep. And I just burst out greeting. I was like, I cannot do this. And I remember just like instantly hearing the doors. I never slept the whole night. And then I remember just having to go, like, just instantly stop greeting and harden up. I remember it was the first time I'd kind of had to do that and just go out, and it was still slopping out and stuff like that. So I went out, and I was luckily enough, I wasn't dubbed up with somebody. And I went out and I just kind of like put out a piss and stuff like that, and whatever you're doing, do you know what I mean? And slopped out, came back into the cell, and obviously one of the officers come in and went, listen, you're going up to Iona Hall. So I get moved up to Iona Hall quite quickly. And that was a kind of new build and stuff like that, and do you know what I mean? It didn't really look like the way that jail looked. That was like that looked
Was
like
that
a real
the
jail.
Alley you talking about?
Alley and North Wing, they looked like real prisons the way you see like on like Berlin, or you look at the programmes, you know what I mean? When you went to, it probably looked like, I don't know what it looked like. It certainly didn't look like a prison to me, do you know what I mean? It, obviously just a big long hall, doors at each side, do you know what I mean? Cut of pool tables and stuff like that, do you know what I mean? But a rough place, you know what I mean? I mean, that riot, I remember that riot bell just going off constantly. You'll remember it yourself. It just, it's like constantly people fighting. A lot of young egos there. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
But I mean, I was lucky enough. I was quite well liked. Do you know what I mean? And I had a few good pals outside who had big cousins and stuff like that who were able to kind of look after me. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. So I was really lucky that way. To the people that actually did kind of look after me, do you know what I mean? So when I hit like 21, I went to Shots, which was like the big jail, do you know what I mean? And obviously kind of heard all the stories about Shots, do you know what I mean? So that was you were going to the National Induction Centre. It was called NIC at the time. So that was for end of day and 10 year and above. So you can imagine the category of prisoners that you were actually going up to when you were going in there, do you know what I mean? So when I went up there, it was actually better, do you know what I mean?
You're laid back. Probably, I'd imagine, and I've never been to Shots, but the people doing longer sentence, you find probably want to just settle down and settle in for the most part, rather than Pullman. It's shorter sentences, young people, you know what I mean? Daft, that ego thing,
Totally.
whereas it's the cunts that are doing the big sentences and they've not really got much an ego to the point of getting to prove. Because they're the cunts that are fucking, they've got an established reputation.
Totally.
So they're about to go up and get the heat down, chill out, and that kind of, that YO mentality gets stamped out quite quickly. You always had people saying that, like, in the YOs, they're turned 21, they've got to Shots like that, and the screws, some of the screws that knew, they'd be like, listen, that'll be fucking act like that in Shots, because it will get fucking knocked out them.
No, and it's true, like, to a certain extent. Obviously, you get some YOs who, they go up and are just crazy enough to keep it going, do you know what I mean? Like, that's, and probably, like, the trauma response that they've got, do you know what I mean, is in the stuff that we spoke about just earlier, Jordan, about the way you've got guys who have maybe been in care and stuff like that for a long time who just aren't scared of prison, you know. It's like they've been in it for they were like 13, 14-year-old. It's what they know, and they probably are dysfunctional outside, do you know what I mean? Which is it's weird because I never ever adapted to the prison system that way. I always broke my back, do you know what I mean? It was never easy for me. I never ever enjoyed the prison system, whereas I've seen guys, I don't think MD ever enjoyed it. I think a lot of it's a facade, and I think but there is certainly guys there who probably flourish in that environment, do you know what I mean? Because of certain stuff. I don't know how bad your family home is, that the prison's a good thing, but I certainly seen that in some guys, do you know what I mean? So when you went to Shots, it was like a big eye opener, and it was like but it was definitely more relaxed and stuff like that. And obviously I just get stuck into my football and stuff like that. I started a degree and all that when I went up there. Got to know some right good guys, man. There was some really good guys in there that looked after me, do you know what I mean? So I mean, my whole attitude kind of changed, I think, in Shots. That's when you probably started desensitising and becoming a prisoner, do you know what I mean? I think that was probably when I started that kind of stage of my evolution and growth, and when I was trying to kind of like fit into somewhere that I wasn't. I just knew I shouldn't have been there, and I shouldn't have been there for one, and plus it just wasn't my environment. You know what I mean? It was like I was so at my comfort zone, but I did manage to do it well. Do you know what I mean? I was quite well liked in the prison system. Do you know what I mean? But it was certainly not because I was a hard man or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? It was just like people did like me. Do you know what I mean? I got on well with people. Do you know what I mean? I was always there to help people and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? I was always kind of there. I was quite good at writing and stuff like that, so I was always helping guys write stuff, and as I said, I was really lucky with some of the guys who were there. Do you know what I mean? They were kind of established people who were well known and stuff like that. Who I was lucky enough to kind of get on with. Do you know what I mean? And they looked out for me. Do you know what I mean?
See, when you says your first night in Pullman, that you said you burst into tears crying. Then the minute the door opened, you had to kind of switch into that mode. It was a 4-week remand you done, wasn't it?
Aye, so the first one was 4 weeks. I was actually
dubbed the 4 week remand before you got high court bail. So what was your remand from when you get found guilty to when you get sentenced?
I think the one when I first went in, I was in with one of my co-accused, and I was in and I was dubbed up with somebody in there. So I instantly didn't have that. I didn't have the time to feel any. I had to kind of switch on quite quickly. And obviously when I went in, I was dubbed up with a boy, and he kind of showed me the ropes on a few things, and just because obviously you're just so new to it, you're just as like so you're like a fish out of water. Do you know what I mean? But it's amazing how quickly they adapt. Do you know what I mean? How you quickly adapt to the situation.
Yeah, it's a survival instinct.
Totally, and it's sad because it's like we were talking about it. I've actually wrote a book about it, how it's impossible to be your authentic self in prison. I don't think that environment allows you to be authentic. I think as human beings we're like inherently good, and I think that over time you maybe change through whatever happens to you, like maybe you're abused, maybe whatever, do you know what I mean? There's a lot of things that will change your dynamics and how you grow up. But I think with myself, I certainly didn't have that kind of upbringing and stuff like that. And I thought I probably knew more than what I did. Do you know what I mean? I certainly never knew anywhere near the extent of what was actually going on in Scotland. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in violence-wise, addiction-wise, this was all kind of new stuff to me. Do you know what I mean? So that dub up, the difference between them was just that person being there, and then the second time I was allowed that time for myself. So that is when I just burst out greeting. I had absolutely no time to. Plus, it was like the reality of just I'm doing 15 years here.
Fucked here, basically. Because as soon as you get that guilty, that's you. There's no going back.
And obviously, you've still got in the back of your mind all appeals and stuff like that, and you're hopeful about stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? But you know that you're there in a long time, and obviously you know yourself. People are cruel in prison. Do you know what I mean? So they let you know you're doing 15 years. Do you know what I mean? They let you know you're not going to be it for long. Do you know what I mean? And a long time. So it's definitely like something that you really need to adapt to quickly. Do you know what I mean? And some guys don't, and that's why addiction's rife. Do you know what I mean?
100%, man.
And I think obviously I will speak about that later on. Do you know what I mean? When I kind of fell into that kind of category with Valium and stuff like that, when I went to Adderall and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? But at the start, I was just kind of doing my own thing, and I was going to the gym, and do you know what I mean? Just trying to kind of fit in, do you know what I mean? And learning, it's just a learning curve, do you know what I mean? And trying to learn how to adapt, and probably how you are able to be that chameleon where who you can talk to and who you can be all right with, and then you meet people in there that become like brothers to you, do you know what I mean? They really do, like
100%, man.
Guys that are, and as I say, is like I know there's a lot of guys in the prison system that have done really bad things, do you know what I mean? But I mean, some of the best guys I know in the prison system, do you know what I mean? And I'm not going to sit and say like justify people's actions, but there's always reasons for these things, do you know what I mean? And I think I picked that up quite quickly as well. I picked that up I think I was maybe lucky with the level of awareness I had. A wee bit more awareness than some other people. Do you know what I mean? I always had that wee bit of a level of awareness where I was like, I'm not going to let this become me. Do you know what I mean? Because I think this will swallow you up dead quick. Do you know what I mean? It's like a vortex.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you could get swallowed up in the prison system 2 seconds. Do you know what I mean? I think that's happened to a lot of people.
100%. As you say, it's that thing you kind of need to adapt to survive. But some people they adapt too well, and it becomes them. As you say, it's like a vortex, like a vacuum. It sucks you in, and then before you know it, people are a year, 2 years down the line with fucking heavy addiction issues, habits, doing shit to fucking that they wouldn't normally do to fund their addiction. And before you know it, it's that kind of way. No many of them actually going like that and look at themselves like that. How the fuck has this happened? And especially see somebody doing like a life sentence and that, you're looking at all that time ahead. There's no guarantee you're getting out. You don't even have a lib date.
Definitely.
You don't have a lib date. It says like 00 January 00. People don't realise that, because see the amount of people I tell speak about like somebody got a life sentence and like, I do no day off, or I go out after that. Like, no mate, you don't get out. You need to apply to get out. You can still. I've got a cousin. I think he got a wreck of 12. He fucking done a murder in the next street. I think it was 1999. The cunt's still in.
I know.
The cunt's still in.
It's so sad. I've got a pal, one of my right good pals, and he got one of the LRO things.
They're meant to be worse.
Well, mate, he got 2 years, right? He's done 16.
2 years and he's done 16.
He's done 16 years. And I can't see why he's done it. Do you know what I mean? There is obviously reasons. He's certainly not a model prisoner. He's certainly no, but he's not a bad person. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I've seen a lot of people getting parole that are worse. So it doesn't really make sense to me, that the whole system's kind of, I don't know, like it's geared towards failure in my eyes. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how can you put in there, if we're outside and you take somebody on merit outside and you take on how successful they are, we look at maybe what job they've got, the money they've got, maybe their misses, just things like that, the motor they've got, whatever material things, maybe even. You look at somebody, how successful they are in prison, it's how violent they are, it's how much drugs they can sell, it's how much anti-authority they can perceive and put into the population, how much power they've got, these different words that other people don't know, how much power they've got in the hall, how much, like, you know yourself, that's the success in prison. That's the people who like are the people that are like seen as successful in prison. So how can you ask anybody to really change if that's what your model of success is in prison? Do you know what I mean? I said it before, like the SPS say they transform lives and stuff like that. I don't see that. I just see them transforming lives into the worst. Do you know what I mean? I don't see many people coming out unless they've maybe got that level of awareness themselves and they go, I'm not going back there, or they may be lucky enough to maybe have a spiritual awakening or something like that. Do you know what I mean? And then they don't go back. But most guys get swallowed up with a vortex because just because, you know yourself, you've been there, you've seen it, Jordan. It's extremely volatile. It's extremely. If you don't go into survival mode, you're getting eaten alive.
That's it. You know what I mean? And that's the thing as well. It's like, see if the loss of freedom isn't enough to put you off, then nothing will put you off.
Totally.
Because that's the number one thing. Aye. That's the number one thing it will put you off. It's like if you experience a loss of freedom, loss of control, and you go, fuck doing that again. Aye. But if that doesn't bother you, or it's nothing else in the jail will, if you can overcome that. In that sense, or not even overcome is probably the wrong word to use, but if that doesn't faze you, fucking nothing will.
No, I think it's you're right. I think it's when the abnormal merges with the normal.
The abnormal becomes the normal,
and your head becomes mush because you become desensitized to really violent acts. You become desensitized to like really bad addiction issues. You become desensitized to probably being like a certain way with staff and stuff like that. Like you don't see them as people and stuff like that, and they don't see you as people. So how are you supposed to grow in that? I don't know how you're supposed to be. Like they ask you to. There was an amazing poem done by a judge in America called Judge Shaleen, and he basically says, like, we asked them, we basically asked them to be themselves. So we put them in a place where we take all their autonomy off them. We ask them to no be the big man. So we put them where the big man's celebrated. We ask them not to take drugs. So we put them where that's polluted with drugs. We ask them not to be violent. And violence is celebrated. And it's so true. How can you see anybody and how can you expect anybody to change? Do you know what I mean? In that environment. I mean, I've not got the answers, but I know that you really need to start working on trust, do you know what I mean, and stuff like that. There's massive issues with trust and stuff, but I know, so, like, obviously, go back to the question, but the dub-up in Pullman, there were two kind of different dub-ups. The first one was...
One, see for when you get the guilty.
Aye.
Because I would say that was probably the way... When you get remanded, I feel there's always a glimmer of hope.
Totally.
It might be big, might be small,
Aye.
but there's always, I can go out and bail.
Aye.
See, the thing is, as well, sometimes, depending on the sentence you can be doing, obviously in your case it probably isn't the case, being on remand can be a lot more of a fucking mental mind game than being
Aye.
sentenced, because 1 minute I'll get out a lot for this, next minute I'm going to get a sentence for
Aye.
this. How long will I get? I don't know. Would it depend on what mood
Totally.
the judge is in? It's totally out your hands, whereas you're sentenced, that's my date,
Aye.
work towards it. But for you, I can imagine, see, when you get the guilty verdict and you had a few weeks before you were going up to court, but how, see, by the time you went up to court to get the sentence, had you managed to prepare in any way to expect, because you know, once you've been found guilty of murder, I'm sure
Aye.
your QC would have told you, listen, it's going to be life,
Aye.
whether the minimum's up to the judge's discretion, but had you managed to kind of prepare yourself for that sentence?
So obviously you'd had conversations and stuff like that, and obviously there was like a mandatory life sentence on it. Do you know what I mean? So that's the difference between, like, my pals. His is like the judge. It's up to the judge. It's like, so the judge has a autonomy over whether he gives that life sentence. So you get mandatory, and I can't remember the other one. It's like it's basically the judge's choice. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's the difference. When you get found guilty of murder, you get a mandatory life sentence, and then you get a recommendation which you need to complete. You need to complete that recommendation part, which mine was 15. So when I went up, they were like, my lawyer and that was saying that I think because you're 19 and stuff like that, and the kind of sentences back then were maybe like 10 years, stuff like that, do you know what I mean? So the judge I was sitting in front of was a judge called Rita Ray, who was quite a heavy hitter.
She's fucking ruthless.
And she was like, it was her first High Court trial that I was quite unlucky enough to get her. Like, I mean, I'm sure she's a good judge. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's probably she's done things in the trial and whatever. She's clever. I don't know. Like, I've not got that much to say on her. Do you know what I mean? That is what it is. But I know she was like, obviously everybody in the prison system was saying, oh, you're right, she's a heavy hitter, you're going to get 20 years and all that. And I'm like, it was the only person doing 20 years in the jail was Luke Mitchell at the time. Mm-hmm. Then there was a big boy called Tam Shields, who's actually sadly passed away. Tam's a great guy. No, big Tam was for Garthamlock. A cracking big guy, I know.
Was he a lifer?
Aye, a lifer.
Right, no, 'cause I remember meeting a Tam Shields in Berlin a few years ago, but it wasn't a lifer.
Aye, no, big Tam, he got to jail when he was 16, sadly. Died in Castle Huntley. Great guy, I know. But he was doing 18 year. So they were like the two big sentences. So I wasn't expecting the 15. The lawyer was saying 10 year, but because I still obviously was pleading my innocence when I went up, the judge said, and we had quite a lot of, obviously, like my community was quite a lot behind me, don't I mean, come along, so there was quite a lot of letters went in, support letters and stuff like that, and obviously the judge turned around and said that I'd conned the whole community into believing I was a nice person, and basically gave us 15 years, do you know what I mean? So it was a sore one. It was a sore one. Like, I wasn't expecting to get that long, but I suppose, like, there's arguments on both sides of that kind of argument, like how much people should get. I'm sure there's people out there that would say you should never get out again for murder, do you know what I mean? And then I'm sure there's and this is the type of debates I think we need to have, is to understand where is this leaving people? Is it clogging up the jail system? Is there what is the success rate of life sentence prisoners? Because it's very low for life sentence prisoners to get out. And then when they get out, what state are they in? And these are all questions that need to be answered, because 99% of the people, this is where I don't get the people that come across the hard crime, and And I get, obviously, I get the argument for it, but I don't get why they need to understand these people are getting released again, Jordan. They're all getting, 99% of the people are going to be back out in the community. So if you put them in a powder keg and you turn the heat up on it, when that guy gets out, what is it you're expecting him to do?
No.
Like, I honestly don't know. I've seen guys getting libbed on like 160 ml of methadone, and they've not got a script when they get libbed. No, that guy's just finished a prison sentence. He doesn't know where he is. He's got no family, absolutely nowhere to go, and he's not got a script for his drugs. So he's rattling now.
Aye.
What is it you expect? Where are you expecting this guy to go here? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, this is the questions I need to ask. Like, you never get a good answer for it.
No, definitely. It's like putting a wounded animal in a cage, poking it with a stick for fucking 5-10 years, then opening it and expecting not to get bit.
Totally. It's just the exact same thing. And I think there's been experiments to kind of show that is what's kind of happening. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I think it's called Rat City. Have you ever heard of that experiment?
Aye.
So that was like with drugs and stuff like that. But it was like, it was kind of down the street of kind of how, like...
Like the Rat Park experiment?
Aye, so it was like, that was more connection. And I think you lack that in prison, because even the connections you do get are probably kind of negative connections. Do you know what I mean? In the way that you're all bouncing off each other on a negative vibe, a vibration that's the vibration level that you're vibing on is negative. So if I come into you, you know yourself, you could wake up one morning, right? If I come into you and I'm like, fuck's sake, man, like fucking that fucked my visitor, that's what he did, and I've no hanging. It's like instantly you're like, oh. Like, it's like, it's draining you. Do you know what I mean?
Screws spun my Peter.
Aye.
They spinning Peters, who did
That's
he
it.
all that stuff, and then you get that kind of thing.
Totally, man.
You start rallying with the troops.
Totally, and that's one of the worst ones. When you see them coming in, security, you've not even got anything in your Peter, but you're going, oh, like, is there anything, maybe somebody's put something there, like, somebody forgot something and all that. Do you know what I mean? So it's like...
You're constantly on your toes.
Hyper vigilant, man, and it's not good for you. Like, there's so many. I mean, the amount of studies, like, you've got like Govan, and you've got all these people, and even James Docherty, people like that, who I think James is probably the best person to talk about trauma in Scotland. I don't think there's anybody better than me personally, but I like you, Govan, and if you look at Jordan, all these people that have even looked at prisons, I'll tell you, like, I don't know what you're expecting. Like, I asked Govan when he came to Glasgow, I says to him, because he was talking about the need for connection and stuff like that, and how much that's like ingrained in us, do you know what I mean, as humans and stuff like that. And I says, how do you get that connection in a place that's no go any? And he kind of went away and he thought about it, and he's just come back and went, the only thing I can say is you need to look after yourself. So what I took for that, Jordan, was you can only deal with yourself in prison. You can't, if you want to take yourself away from it, you can, right? But it's very hard, because that is the only connection you've got. Aye. So you need to connect with yourself, which can be painful, especially if you're sitting with all sorts of trauma and all that, do you know what I mean? And you're sitting with a 15-year sentence that you've got to cope with.
Aye, exactly. Especially see if you come for like the schemes and that, because a lot of people that hang about like gangs as such, or large crowds of people, they've sought that kind of that connection with people, because it's people who come from broken homes, single parents probably passed away, grew up with grannies, grandas or whatever. It's like they started off like this gang affiliation or hanging about in the large groups was because they were needing that connection. So when you get put in a place, you get put in a jail, you're disconnected. So suddenly if you're disconnected, you're suddenly going to look for connection, and no right away you're going to have to look within, especially if you're young.
Definitely. Because
that's a lot, because as you say, you're trying to learn how to navigate a jail system, but plus as well, because see, learning how to, a lot of people struggle to learn how to live themselves outside, never mind in a jail environment, because outside you're like, right, you can have a routine, you've got a life out here. In there you're like, right, I need to get with this, especially a life sentence, you know what I'm talking about. You're like,
you just need to look at the sword.
There's not like a guide, you don't get handed a guide, like you go into jail and here's like your induction pack, here's an induction pack for lifers, there's a new one, and it's all written, you don't get taught none of that shit, you need to just deal with it yourself, which is a crazy thing.
Definitely. I think no, you're so right. I think like when if you're going to prison, and then like I speak about it in my book, right? Like obviously, it's when you're younger, you're involved in like daft wee fights and stuff like that, and like you don't see like the aftermath, and I was never involved in anything like that. Do you know what I mean? Until that night, do you know what I mean? That was like the only time I'd been involved in that kind of serious violence. Do you know what I mean? So when that happened, it's like it's so surreal to you. Like the whole thing was so surreal. And I think as a young boy, as you say, you think you know things. I was living in a village, do you know what I mean, where you kind of know everybody, and you're all kind of jumping about as a crowd, and you're bouncing off each other, and night clubbing and drinking, and like all that kind of stuff all comes hand in hand. And it was the 2000s where it was kind of like that, no gang culture, but it was like if you're for that area, you didn't go in with them, just because of when you actually go into prison and stuff like that and you meet, it's weird because what happens is you'll then get the guys feel like Edinburgh who all didn't like each other, they then become a gang, and then the boys for Glasgow become a gang, and then the boys for North Lanarkshire become a gang, and then it gets broke down even more, because then what happens is it starts going to Glasgow, start fighting with Edinburgh, and you're always looking for that connection, do you know what I mean? So you go for these wee gangs who don't all go on with each other. I mean, I starting with guys and you're like, they were talking and some guys had stabbed each other, do you know what I mean? And they're like, but they're backing each other up in the jail because then it goes down to like, you know yourself, maybe like something will happen and it's like maybe the North End's fighting with the East End of Glasgow because they're all backing each other up now. And I saw boys that hate each other outside, but the need for that connection is driving you towards that to connect with anything. Do you know what I mean? So that tribalism, you need it. Do you know what I mean? And I think to function in a prison, you just need to look at the prison staff and how they function. Do you know what I mean? And the way that they congregate as a gang.
I think fear plays a big part in that.
Massive.
That's a big thing as well. Like you see, like you probably hear it in the bus. See if you're talking to somebody in the court cells, they've just been remanded and they're going up. We'll just stick together when we're up here. We'll back each other up and all that kind of thing. It's like they're the ones you realise that are shouting themselves because they're looking for that kind of that crowd behind them because they're not used to acting out in front of. They're used to acting out in front of people with people behind them. That kind of that solace. Like somebody's got my back, so I can behave in a certain way. But there's no man's land got out of jail.
Oh, you're like, so, I mean, for me, fear's the biggest driver of everything. And I think you can take the guy that's in the prison who's probably the guy who's the most violent and the most guy who isn't he scared. In his head, he's no scared. Like, and he isn't he? Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying scared, but it is fear-driven. You're getting driven by fear. You don't understand you're getting driven by fear, but you're getting driven by fear. It may be the fear of losing the face, it may be the fear of losing reputation, it may be the fear of like violence upon you, but it's fear that's driving you to be that person. Do you know what I mean? So the prison, the whole system to me is driven on fear because you start taking drugs to reduce that fear. You don't see many people taking ecstasy or cocaine and things like that in prison because they don't want to enhance the experience. You want to decrease it. So you try and decrease the experience by taking downers and taking like opiates and stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's like opiate painkillers. They kill emotional pain and all. So that's where everybody starts taking opiates. They're a massive problem in the prison. Valium take away anxiety. They're a massive problem. Hash, like it's not, to me, isn't as much a problem, but it's still people smoke hash. Very few people, like, unless it's Christmas and stuff like that, you'll get guys that maybe get eckies and cocaine, but it's still a small group that are probably comfortable enough with each other to go into a Peter and have a wee party. Do you know what I mean? You don't see mass amounts of coke getting sold, do you know what I mean? And in prison, it's not a thing, do you know what I mean? It was always 50s of smack and bits of subby and whatever, do you know what I mean? So I think fear is the ultimate driver. I think that is the thing that drives everybody, and I think even the people that are like the people that you would say are no scared or don't understand they're scared, but it's fear that's driving them as well.
100%. Plus as well, when you get into that an environment like that, you go in, my last sentence I was in, I had pure anxiety. As if as if cunts were going to attack me out of the blue. I don't know where it came from. First I've ever felt like that. But it was just that sudden. I think it was to do with the spice as well. And I think because I could get the tag, part of it was kind of alright, I've got something to lose here if anything happens. But I was still on guard, like if anything happens, I'm gone for it. I'm not fucking letting any cunt put us in a position. But that way it was just, I felt fucking like an unpredictable environment. That's what jail is, it's unpredictable. 1 minute it can be calm, next minute it can be a fucking riot.
It's you can't, it's like, obviously you choose to sit with people as well, and when you choose to sit with people, you take on their enemies, you take on their background, you take on their whole persona. Do you know what I mean? Is part of you, because that's who's got your back. So you've then need to have their back. So you're taking on potential fights that you've got nothing to do with. It could lead into, like, you know yourself how quickly, and it's trying to navigate that. It's like very hard to be your authentic self and say, no, listen, I'm not wanting to be involved in that. I'm not, because people are just like, you're fucking involved, that's it, mate. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's it. Like, you're getting told. So it's either that, or it's like trying to explain to people. It's like when you were on Banged Up, it was like so apparent to me when that guy had that weapon and he was sitting saying that's a Tory, man. Tories are the hardest hitters on crime, and within a couple of days he's standing with a razor saying this is a great weapon. I mean, see, that's madness. But it's no madness to me. It's totally logical to me. It's so authentic. Do you know what I mean? That is unfortunately the authenticity in prison.
There was another incident. It was part of the pilot, so I wasn't there to experience it. But it was the other Tory MP. I forgot his name. So he was the kind of guy with the dark hair.
Aye.
Where I think they'd scored like a bit of tobacco, and obviously tobacco's illegal in jail. And he had to distract the screws.
Aye.
He had to distract them so they could grab it, and he done it. And then that's what he was saying after. He's like, it's mental how I've just like adapted to this. And that's what I found quite funny. See some of the celebs, you'd like Harvey's like a wee young singer, pure fresh face, baby face. You can see the innocence in him. You had Peter Hitchens, you had Tory MPs, you had a lot of people for different walks of life. None of them came from like a prison walk of life, apart from maybe like Sid Owen, Ricky Feastenders, but his family had been in jail, but he'd never been in jail. It was funny how quickly they adapted into being cons.
Totally.
It was so quick, and you see by the end of it, they were all acting like cons. That way they were hanging about, they were kind of that way, a bit of a back step away for the screws and that kind of, you could see it, even just in their body language. It was so apparent, and maybe for somebody like them, they probably don't notice it in each other, but for somebody like us, we can see it, because you can just see them fitting in and molding into it, and then that way they just adapted. It's crazy.
I think even watching, I don't know the big screw, you know what I mean? I don't know, but he looked as if he kind of cared. He looked as if that he was
big George Shipton, big
baldy guy. He looked as if
he's a great guy, man.
He looked as if that he was trying to show, look, this is a madness that the prison is. Do you know what I mean? Don't fucking think this is. See when you hear all that holiday camp shit and all that, and listen, people do. I understand people do podcasts, right? And people. They say they tell their story in the way they tell it, and it's not for me. I'm only telling the way I see it. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think it's great when you come out and you're like, oh, it's fucking Cantor and this and that, and it was pure, because it's no. Do you know what I mean? It's no. It's no. It's never.
It's usually people have only done a few months to say that it's a holiday camp, because you're in and out. Because I've been in and out before, like a couple of weeks remand, and you're like, it's a laugh and all that, because you think because you're away, you know you're right out the door, but when you're getting in, you're staying, it's your home for a few years. It's a different ball game. There's a lot less hope involved.
Totally, man. And I think it's just the whole adaptation, like your family need to adapt to a whole new realm and all. It's like they're not used to prison environments and stuff like that, so they're coming up and like it's just daft things, like my wee ma like asking, oh, it's his 21st, can we get a room and all that, and get, like, do you know what I mean? Like, mad stupid things, and you're just, the guys like that to my ma, listen, he's known the fucking Hilton, know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about?
You need to deal with the cunts, know what I mean? Totally, the cheek is off of him, man. You're like, you're fucking bams, but it's, you remember it's like fucking, obviously not in your case, but sometimes when you look back, you're like, fucking hell, that's what I'm kind of putting them through, or that's what they're getting put through, because they're doing the sentence with you. They're just on the other side of the law doing it.
Definitely.
And you don't realise that at the time, or maybe you do. I didn't when I done mine.
I think obviously when it's violence and stuff like, especially when somebody dies, man, it's like it's everybody, the impact on it, the ripple effect's massive, man. It's like you can't even start to understand the ripple effect. Do you know what I mean? It's horrible. It really is a horrible thing to experience. Do you know what I mean? And what I like, you build up hatred for people. You build up hatred for the system. You build up a hatred for like lawyers and stuff like that, and judges and the Crown and social work and everybody. So you build up this massive hatred, and it's just burning you. Nobody else it's burning you. You're turning into somebody that you know. It's starting to define you. You're starting to become that person. And it was my missus, man. My missus was like to me, man, like, you do know that you're going to need to accept this one day, didn't you? And I was like, what? I was like, what? Dude, I can't believe you actually just said that to me. Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I'm being deadly serious with you, man. Like, this will eat you alive. Like, you've already fell into that vortex. You like taking Valium a lot, and you've like, do you know what I mean? You're that addiction's starting to come out, and you don't see it. Do you know what I mean? But you're masking so much, and it's the hatred that's driving you. That hatred that's driving you, pushing you past fear and stuff. And a lot of people say to me, right, I've forgave people, right, and listen, people might not forgive me, right, whatever, I don't care, right, but people might not forgive me, and I really get why some people like wouldn't forgive me, and that's up to them, like totally up to them. That's their thing, and I get it. Other people, I need to forgive some people in my life who done me really wrong, and that's been healing for me. And I think that's the message that I like to try and pass on is, once you let go of that, you can start to grow. And I still suffer a lot. I've got a lot of demons. I've got a lot of kind of a lot of unfinished business inside me. I've got a lot of stuff that I need to deal with. But I mean, just in this last year, like I've obviously started my own podcast. I've got like I've wrote a book. I've managed to get a job. It's like I've done so much in this last year that I can be so proud of. But you still know, if you know what I mean. There's still a lot of acceptance today. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the message that I try and tell anybody, man. Is like, see, when you're building up that hatred against anybody, like when you're building that hatred up against the system, whatever, man, it's like it's only you that's burning it. Do you know what I mean? Like the Buddha describes it as like you're holding on to like two burning coals ready to hit somebody with it, but there's nobody there to hit, and you're just standing there burning. Do you know what I mean? Like that is what it's like. So it's like, I try and explain it, the dynamics change inside you. You start becoming like, I don't know, your thinking just goes different. Everything's a hatred, like I hate that, I hate him, and that, like real hatred. Do you know what I mean? And you need to let go of it, man. If you don't let go of it, it will consume you. Do you know what I mean? I've seen guys, especially miscarriage of justice victims, I've seen guys who is consumed. Guys that have been out for 40 years, still going on about, I hate the system, I hate this, I hate the court, and that's why I don't want to talk about the intricacies in my case. No, I'm not ready, do you know what I mean, to like go into it all and talk about it in a way that I can do it justice, if that makes sense, and I can do it in a way that I'm doing it for a kind of place of acceptance and forgiveness. Do you know what I mean? I'm not there yet. Do you know what I mean?
So it's probably a bit of venom maybe attached with this in regards to the system and that.
Totally. Do you know what I mean? And that's where it's fallen away, and it's a message that I would pass on to anybody. Do you know what I mean? Like that's how you need to get through it. There's the amount of guys that commit suicide and all that. Like a boy I know, one of the strongest boys I met in the prison system, boy from Edinburgh, man, like a fucking pure legend, man, in the prison system, and unfortunately fucking died. Know what I mean? But and it's somebody that you just would never have thought, like, just wouldn't it? And this is what people don't understand. It's like, it's that whole concern. The happiest people in the world are the people that accept their reality. If you don't accept your reality, and that's where I kind of get with the prison system, they're asking you to accept a reality that's so abnormal. So how the fuck are you supposed to grow? Like, don't talk pish, do you know what I mean? You're not transforming life to nobody. Like, why don't... You're putting out a false narrative to the public, and the public think that prisons are rehabilitating people when they're just traumatising people. Do you know what I mean? You're firing out traumatised person after traumatised person, and then going, why is he still committing crimes, and why is he addicted to drugs, and why? And you're like, what are you watching, man? What the fuck are you looking at?
Like,
these
people, as I say, everybody's got that curiosity about jail because they don't know what it's actually like.
Totally.
Until people experience it, it totally changes their perception. But if you go back to Banged Up, every one of these celebrities on it had a perception about jail, and it get flipped. You get flipped.
I don't think you can experience it. No, I said it before. I think the Justice Minister should be made to go and experience, go and sit in Adderwell for a week, go and fire him in a hall in Adderwell for a week, and let him experience it, let him experience the reality of prison, and then come out and then say what you're going to say. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't say these things when you've not experienced it. It's such a taboo subject that nobody wants to talk about, and it's a system where people go, rightly, I'm not saying this is because I'm not trying to justify like the actions of people in prison, but people will turn around and go, but what about care homes and what about this? Aye, they come first. Like, I'm not saying, but don't expect prisoners to come out and change back then. Like, own it, own the fucking system that you've created. Don't lie. Do you know what I mean? That's where it gets me. Is like, don't lie about a system that isn't working. And trying to fix statistics and trying to fix things to make it work. Just go like that. Do you know what? We've got no money. We've got no fucking budget. We've got no staff that are trained to deal with the trauma that these people have got. And that's it. You've asked us to. We've been forced to watch these people, and we're going to contain them till they get out. That's all we can do with the budget you're giving us. Don't go like we're rehabilitating people, have big events where politicians are going to and lie to everybody. That's what gets me, Jordan.
See, if we can go back to, see when you got your sentence, as you say, it was a bit of a blow. You weren't expecting it. You got a lot more than we expected. See, from then on, how did you like kind of accustom? What was your first day like after getting the 15 year when you went down to the cells? Was it kind of, was there, not to say any closure, but in any sense where, right, I know what I'm doing, or was it still kind of like, what's going on here? Is this a bad dream? What was your thoughts and emotions?
I know it was definitely like bad dream stuff, but I was really lucky to have, as I says, one of the guys who looked out for me was a really well-known guy for the kind of north end of Glasgow, and I honestly like couldn't thank him enough. And he was really, it was kind of. No, like as a wee guy, you know what I mean? I'm only 21. I'm like up shots and I was going on about my appeal and stuff like that. And he kind of just says to Sean, he's like, "Nah, cunt cares. We're all fucking doing 20 years, 15. Nobody cares about. You need to stop talking about your case. You need to start adapting here. Like you're not going to move on." And so that was quite a harsh. It was a lesson that I needed to learn, but like nobody cares. Nobody's actually given everybody's all doing massive sentences. So see you moaning about your sentence, you need to learn that very quickly. So that was a hard lesson. Do you know what I mean? But it was a lesson I needed to learn. And obviously that same person kind of instilled into me that like just stand up for yourself, but just be yourself. You're likeable, man. Like. You'll not get, like, just don't. He was really lucky. My big pal for East End of Glasgow and all, he was the same. Do you know what I mean? He was like one of my uncle's pals and stuff like that for a lot. And another boy, like I was lucky. Like I don't want to name names and all that. Do you know what I mean? I'm just no like. But there was a lot. I was lucky to have guys who were well known to kind of establish me. Do you know what I mean? So I think that. To kind of answer the question, no, it was like a dream for probably like maybe I don't know, like the first year or something, if you ask me.
year?
Aye, probably.
Really?
It's like a bit of a blur, mate.
Was there any part of you that kind of... Was there any hope in you at all that maybe they're going to realise the mistake they made and they'll come in, see just the mad thoughts you get? Was that still lingering?
Aye, that
And
was
what was it
huge.
after the year that kind of realised nobody's coming to save me?
When I lost my appeal, that's when my missus said, look, you're not going to accept this. And then I realised, like, listen, man, nobody's coming here, nobody's coming. There's no magic wand here, man. Nobody's coming to take my hand and take me away. And by this time, I'd kind of lost touch with a lot of people. I was probably dabbling with Valium and stuff a lot more than I should have been. So I was losing my kind of reality on a lot of stuff. And the jail was starting to consume me. Do you know what I mean? The hatred I had for a couple of individuals was like it was overwhelming. Do you know what I mean? It was like like my pal says to me one time. I was just talking about what I was talking about. One of the guys involved in my trial, and my pal says to me, "You're fucking letting he is in your head rent free, man. Like rent free. Like you've got to like stop that. Like this is consuming you. You know what I mean?" So it was after a while, and do you know what people have says to me, man? Like, when I say to them, look, I'm trying to forgive him, and I'm trying to forgive people, and look at what he had in his life, and he had a lot of trauma in his life, and other people that were involved, and people go, like, certain people will go, I think you're mental, I can't believe you'd even say that, but it's for me, it's for my family.
That's what forgiveness is about. You realise it's not about the other person, it's
No,
about you.
And it's one of the ones where like you've got to do it. Do you know what I mean? You've got to forgive or deal with that deal with what you're going to become, because it will at some point. Like because it can start if, like you catch me in the wrong day, and you say certain people's names, man. I'm like, it's like you do feel it. You still feel that.
It's a trigger. It's a process. It's not a one-time overnight thing, as it says. It's a process. It's like it's in a mindset you need to adopt, because it's a kind of right. There's that trigger there on days when you're maybe having an off day and somebody mentions it. You're just not in the right mood, but you need to have that as that kind of a backup to kind of go, right, no, I've thought about this, and that way it's something you're going to, and sometimes it only makes sense to you.
It does.
It only needs to make sense to you. It
does.
Doesn't matter what if somebody else is like, right, I think you should. Then sort of people saying, I think you shouldn't. It's like not really down to them, because they're not feeling it. They've not had to go through the same thing you went through.
And it's also just starting to believe in the person that you are again, and trying to leave that jail persona behind. That's probably the part that I needed to get rid of. Like I needed to get rid of that. Like, and because it was, you can't live with the same persona out that you had in there out here. And I think that's where a lot of guys at day lifers that struggle. Do you know what I mean? Because that I done more time in prison. I done 15 years in prison. I done more time in there for I was 19-year-old. So I done, like, I mean, just say for 15 to 19, 4 year, right? Like, that's your kind of grown up stage, as in like growing about, hanging about the streets, whatever. That's no long. So you're then starting to grow up in a prison system that teaches you the wrong set of values. It teaches you a totally warped kind of mindset. Do you know what I mean? And it's a mindset that serves you well in that place. So that's where I think we're going wrong. I think we need to start looking at the mindset that we're offering people. Why are we no setting up like places like rehab places and stuff like that, where I kind of more look at Scandinavia and all that, like these prisons and stuff like that seem to work a lot better, that reoffending rates a lot lower and stuff, and it's just because there's a wee bit of mutual respect. You're always going to get your guys who are anti-authority through and through and never going to be part of the system. You're always going to get these guys, but you know yourself, Jordan, you can be in a group and like me and you could go up to talk to like a group of young offenders, and we could tell them and talk to them on their level, and they could get through to them. But one wee guy could come in there disrupt the whole thing. Just because he is, that's the way he is. He's just, and he's dealing with his stuff the way he's dealing with it. But he can disrupt that whole group, and he can have that influence in that group. Do you know what I mean? So you need to, yourself, one guy can come in the hall and change the whole dynamics of a hall. Do you know what I mean? Like just one person, like, can change the whole way a hall's running. So it's like it's trying to leave all that behind and trying to kind of move on and realise that you're not that person. You're not that person. That doesn't define you. Do you know what I mean? And that's hard. Do you know what I mean? It's really hard. But that's the message. That's why I'm trying to portray the message that I do. Do you know what I mean? It's doable, man. Like, it's doable. Me and you are like examples of that. Do you know what I mean? We're examples that you can move on. We're always available if people want to come. See if somebody wants to come and say, look, come sit down with us and give some ideas in. Like, we'd be available for that. Do you know what I mean? But you don't really get it. You don't get the people that come. And even that thing that Channel 4 done, Banged Up, a great experiment. I mean, why not use that and go, fucking hell, look how quickly they did change, man. Like, that is the way the system is. Do you know what I mean?
You find that because see with a lot of politicians, it's a popularity contest. See the ones that are talking about prison reform, see to get the votes, they want to be saying coming harder, more punishment, less privilege, and that's to the general public that don't know, that sounds great, but they don't, in their eyes, like that, the votes will need to be attracted to the person who's wanting to go in and change it and shake things up.
Totally.
You know what I'm talking about?
And I think it obviously takes like courage for it takes courage for like the way we talk, mate, and the way we're talking. Do you know what I mean? And getting vulnerable. Do you know what I mean? Because that's not where we grew up. I grew up in the jail system. I mean, we grew up in an environment where you didn't show that. Like, that was a weakness. Yeah. And that got preyed on straight away. So you build up loads and loads and loads of laws. Do you know what I mean? Like, to protect yourself for these things. Do you know what I mean? But I just want to know, like, for anybody that's struggling out there, that done a jail sentence, and I just want them to know it's doable. Do you know what I mean? But you need to delve it. You need to dig deep into yourself. It's got nothing to do with exterior validation. Don't look for validation for other people, because it's down to you, and it's about forgiving a system that is broken, and forgiving a system that's unjust, but it's for you. The forgiveness is for you, it's not for anybody else.
So when you had that conversation in the NIC with the fellow con about how you just had to kind of accept it, pretty much, in layman's terms, and just get on with it, and remember that you were kind of in almost a small fish in a big pond, or a fish in a pond with many other fish. How did you adapt from then on to the sentence to kind of coming to terms, if we're going to use that expression, with your situation?
So, I definitely get swallowed up by the prison system. Do you know what I mean? I definitely, like, it probably took a wee bit of time. I moved for shots, so we were like the first. I don't know, there was 8 for Glenalco and 8 for shots that went to Addiewell, so I was one of the first ones in Addiewell. So
you get moved out of shots, so was that for the NIC, you get moved to Addiewell? Why was that? Was it just because they wanted to fill Addiewell?
So I'd done like your time in the NIC was usually like between 1 and 3 years, and I'd done like 2.5 years or something in the NIC, so I was kind of going to be moving into the halls anyway, but Addiewell was just opening up, and it was like a Lanarkshire prison, so they came and says to us, look, basically, there was a certain postcode was getting moved, know what I mean? So, me and my best pal, we got the chance to move. So, the two of us were like, you know what, we'll go down together. And there was a few good guys I know. It was all good, like the boys that all were there were all cracking boys. I ended up meeting my other pal, Stevie, who was in Glenalco at the time. He was there as well, do you know what I mean? So, that was quite good when we first arrived in Addiewell, because it was I don't even know how to explain it, mate, but it was probably the craziest thing I've ever experienced is that new prison opening. Do you know what I mean?
How went down?
I don't know. I mean, it's probably better asking what didn't go down. It was just like, obviously, like a new prison, so there was like obviously, like, when we get off the bus, they were all standing, like, they were all standing in their line and all that, and they were going, like, hi, like, I'm so-and-so, and...
With the screws?
Aye, oh, it was madness, mate, honestly, right, so we got in the reception, they come in with a big tray of Mars bars and all that, and juice and all that, right, just stuff, like, bullseye and brew and all that, it was mental, right, it was just mad, like, you weren't used to it, and I think they were trying to probably be different, if you know what I mean. Like, oh, it's just, I know we're opening a prison here, we're going to try and be a bit more empathetic, compassion, whatever, but they just weren't ready for it, do you know what I mean? So when we went in, it was like, you were just telling them what you wanted to do, like, you were just saying, like, we want to go to the gym, and they were going and they're getting ready to go to the gym, and then you were saying, like, so we were there for like December, and I think we moved on like the 18th, it was like just before Christmas, so it was like the 18th of December or something like that, and we kind of were there for like a couple of months ourselves. I think they were just trying to like see what it was like and getting their staff and all that ready for it. But I mean, some of this, the staff and all that just didn't have a clue, do you know what I mean, what they were doing. They were just like bags, like your meal, for example, they were just doing that with bags of mail onto the pool table, right? Everybody go and get their mail, they weren't checking the mail and all that. So you can imagine what was happening. Like, there was just, they were coming and saying, oh, our security system's broke, the scanner's not working and all that. They were telling you things like, and then you were going like, they've been for real. So obviously guys were just fucking getting in what they wanted. Like, it was just, they were just, and there was nothing happening. So it was good, do you know what I mean? It was like, it was good, but it was scary, I know, like, you were, it was dead unsafe, man. So it was like, there was...
In what way?
Just the whole... There was no, like, so basically you were going like that, when people did arrive, so people started arriving, like, I think it was like late January, so I could say, take me out of that hall, I go and see Jordan, and they were going, right, alright, give me 2 minutes, and they were like going
They
and
were
getting...
doing it?
Aye, they were going, taking you to go, like, away out of the house spot, and then obviously somebody got lettered, do you know what I mean? Like, somebody says, oh, take me out to see so-and-so, and they get done it, so they stopped that. But this is the type of things this is how they were learning, do you know what I mean? And it was Audrey Park, who probably is like a good governor, do you know what I mean? Like, she did get control of it quite quickly, in the way that when she came in, it was like it was different, do you know what I mean? Obviously she'd ran Glenelg before, ran Shots before, so when she came in, she changed everything. But it was just mad at the start, like, some of the stuff that was going on was just... it's just hard to... Like, the dinners you were getting dinners, like, pub dinners, that's what it was like. It was like, there was a Italian guy who was a chef, and the dinners they were making were like outrageously good for like prison food, do you know what I mean?
Really, yeah.
So he ends up getting a sack for selling bottles of vodka and that. He was getting bottles of vodka and all
Was
that.
that con?
No,
the actual
Screw
chef
was running the...
Right.
So he was running the... I think he got to jail. I'm sure he got to jail, the guy. But he was basically selling bottles of vodka for £100. And I think it was just getting it delivered right into the prison, do you know what I mean? So it was mental, Jordan, honestly. It was bizarre. It was weird. So a lot of guys probably were hearing that that's the way the prison was operating. So there was a lot of guys putting in to get moved there, do you know what I mean?
I remember when it first came opened, everybody was saying that holiday camp pattern. And you read about it in the paper, I remember, you know what the paper's like, no, I mean, they don't let the truth get in the way of a good story, but I remember seeing an article that they said there was a riot in one of the halls because then, let's say it was like, see, a 99 ice cream or something, apparently you got that as your dessert, but one day they never got it, so they caused a riot. How much of that is true, I don't know. I know there was a few riots, but what it was there, I don't know. But I remember just reading stuff like that, and I'm like, is that really what it's like? Did they just run the show down there?
They were like, it was like the cons were running it, like, and I don't know how much it's changed now. I mean, I was in it 2019, I think 2019 or something, but it was like that legal high had kind of took care, and it was horrible just to watch. A lot of guys that I knew, know what I mean, were just like disintegrating, man, and it was like it was like actually stealing their personality. It was like people were not coming back for it, if you know what I mean. Like, see, even when they were coming off it, they were like shells, if you know what I mean. I don't know what the stuff is. Do you know what I mean? I know it's like spiced and all that, but I don't know what the fuck it is. Do you know what I mean? But
they're spraying it, and they're spraying letters with fish tank cleaner, fly spray and all that.
Aye.
Because if you really ingest that stuff, you would probably hallucinate. Aye, but these people are getting it, and it's like, see, a lot of people know that, and it just doesn't. No, it doesn't bother them. It's like that's a better alternative to sitting sober.
That's when you go like that. How's it a holiday camp, right? If there's people that are willing to ingest that, right, to get, because it's not, I don't even think it's a long dunt. So to get 20 minutes out of their heat in the jail, they're willing to ingest whatever that is. Like, they don't even know what it is. And it's not that, it's a shame, because obviously things become, as we were talking about before, people become desensitised to stuff, and stuff becomes entertainment that really shouldn't be entertainment. Do you know what I mean? So you'll get guys that are maybe like really bad problems with it, and they'll say like, smoke this fucking £30 bit and I wanna, and we'll give it for nothing.
Aye,
knowing that
the spice challenge they were calling it.
Aye, and knowing that the guy's going to like absolutely go out, like, and the guy's doing it. Know what I mean? Just because he's that desperate. So it's things that I found hard to watch, do you know what I mean? And it was guys I liked who were doing it and stuff like that. But again, this is where it's so hard for people to understand that this is the desensitised nature that you're putting people in the position. Just watching like Banged Up and watching how quickly these guys changed into people that just want to fit in, because all you do is want to fit in. Safety, like your fear to stand out. I mean, I don't know if you've ever watched the film about 2K Williams.
Is it one with Jamie Foxx?
Aye, Jamie Foxx. When he changes, and he says like, obviously he's not a crip anymore and all that, and that's bravery, man. Like, that's fucking real bravery, man. Like, going into a prison and saying, I'm changing in front of everyone. And obviously he got a right hard time for that, do you know what I mean? And obviously, like, he get killed, he get executed or whatever. But I mean, that guy, I think he might have won the Nobel Peace Prize. I'm sure.
He did. 2K Williams did.
I think I might, don't quote me on it, Jordan, but he definitely won something huge, because he was basically getting the young boys on the street who were the Bloods and the Crips and getting them together and going, look, these are the same, man. Like, these are just for a different area. These have chose to adapt and connect into a kind of violent and that's consuming you here. But he pointed out, look, got them all to sit in the same room and stuff like that. So a lot of guys obviously probably grew up with that hatred that we spoke about earlier for a different group of people. So they probably didn't understand his choice. But that bravery is the stuff like real like Nelson Mandela, people like that are actually willing to come out and forgive. These are the people that stand out to me. I can take my hat off to people that go in and stick by their guns to anti-authority stuff, and that's the way they live, do you know what I mean? And I get it, do you know what I mean? But for me, the real brave people are the ones that come out and are willing to show their vulnerability and try and get the young ones away from that horrible life that they're going to get consumed by, do you know what I mean? So Addiewell was a massive change for me, because it was like a change in dynamics where it wasn't you probably weren't scared to do anything with the staff. As for like, you could talk to them in certain ways and all that you just wouldn't be able to speak to like an SPS officer, like, do you know what I mean? I don't know how it is now. Again, I don't know how it is now, but it's certainly, it's just different, do you know what I mean? Like, these people are getting 6 weeks training and getting flung in. How you can train somebody for 6 weeks? It's the SPS train people for like 2 years before they go into a hall. So you're training people for like 6 weeks, and there's wee lasses at 19 and all that, and like it's just mad, know what I mean? Like, how you can expect these people to adapt to that. So Addiewell, I know for a fact, I've got a massive problem with like staffing, because there's like that amount of staff that are off sick and the amount of staff that are leaving the job. They don't have the staff, do you know what I mean? And there was plenty of good staff in Addiewell, plenty of a good ones, but there was a lot of assholes and all, do you know what I mean? The same as anywhere else, but it was just different dynamics, different prison. Very scared to let anybody in to see it. They're still at to this day. Very. It's a different way. They don't act the same. Do you know what I mean? It's a different whole dynamics. It's a different prison. I don't know if Kilmarnock's the same. Do you know what I mean? I've not been in Kilmarnock, but when I moved from Addiewell to top end in Berlin, it was like a shock again, because you were back to a kind of officers' jail. Do you know what I mean? So it was again, it was that.
Especially Berlin, that's probably the fucking out of them all. Probably the worst.
And the power dynamics shift on when you go to tap end, because they've got so much of your life.
They
in
build
hand.
that like a weapon, didn't they?
So bad.
See, if we go back to Addiewell, what was the maddest experience you ever had in Addiewell that really stood out for you?
The maddest thing that I seen in Addiewell, probably, I don't know. It's a good question, man. Like, I mean, the riots, but like the couple of riots I've seen were pretty.
What were the riots caused by?
So there was like, again, drugs. Do you know what I mean? Mine,
Was
like,
there actual serious matters, or was it as the papers were making out like petty stuff in the jail, or maybe a mixture?
No, I mean, I think there was maybe like one of the riots that kicked off was because something stupid. Do you know what I mean? But it was because everybody was fully. It wasn't because like that. It was just that time everybody happened to be fully. Do you know what I mean? And that maybe I don't know, an officer acted a certain way or whatever. Because again, they're conditioned. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're conditioned to be part of a system that we don't want to be part of. They're conditioned to be staff us. Do you know what I mean? And they need to act a certain way. It's like probably the maddest thing. I mean, obviously there was so many like violent acts. Do you know what I mean? That you could have that stick out. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know. Like a guy, I seen a guy cutting his own throat. Do you know what I mean? Like just out of sheer desperation, like just walked out, man. Like for cut his own throat with a razor, man. That was pretty horrific.
Walked out into the hall, into the section.
Just walked out after dub up and just cut his own throat. Like obviously survived. I'm glad he survived, but the poor guy was like riddled with addiction and all that, with spice stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And seeing a guy pour a hot kettle out of his cell and all that. Do you know what I mean? Mad with that spice and all. Do you know what I mean?
Was it a young boy? Was he young?
No, the boy was probably a wee bit. He was a wee bit older than that. I think he probably see what people don't understand at all. There's a lot of people in prison with learning difficulties. So see when you take these guys with learning difficulties and stuff like that, and you mix it with a drug like spice or a Tizalam, you're going to get a kind of fucked up version of a person. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I've heard of that kettle pot. I've heard of a couple of people doing that.
Aye.
So I don't know what that. If that's just obviously it's a mode of self-harm. It's a very, very extreme way to self-harm. But you wonder, I don't know. But the thing is, it's well with the things I've heard people doing spice, thinking they've got $1 million stashed under high-rise flats and all that. They become like deluded.
I think that boy, I spoke to the boy after. I says, "Why did you do that?" And he says, "There was spiders and all that on me, and I needed to get them off." So I don't know if he maybe like was hallucinating spiders on him and he thought he was killing. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? But it's these kind of horrific things that stick. They do stick with you. Do you know what I mean? And it's just to highlight that the papers and that will sensationalise things, and they make things look like they call place holiday camps and stuff like that. And what holiday camp have you ever been to that you're walking out and guys are cutting their own throat and all that, and you're like literally seeing violence on a weekly basis? And I'm not talking. You're talking about like real violence. You're not talking about like daft square goals. Do you know what I mean? You're talking about people getting badly hurt. Do you know what I mean? So to patronise people and call it a holiday camp is quite annoying. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. An insult to people like yourself. It's done a long time, innit? It's been a lot of years. It's like it is. It's because it's like it's not the case. I remember talking to a guy and he was trying to. The guy was full of it and just lying. I was working on that, like one of the agency jobs. You just meet mad random people. he was saying, my pal's no mosh, he's got a big 30-inch telly, he's got a bigger telly than me, and I was like, noise, no, mate. See that way, I had no been no long out after the 4.5 years. I was like, mate, noise, no. He's like, no, he hasn't. I was like, mate, trust us, he's no. I was like, if either he's lying or you're lying, but one he's a lying. You know what I mean? There's no if, ands, or buts about it. There's no way he's getting this. I think he was trying to say it was like a 50-inch telly or something pure, heavy, a pure lie, you know what I mean? But you get people who just believe that. I think you've all got PlayStation 4s and all that stuff, and it's like, nah, it's not. In some places, you can, when you get to a certain level of privilege, you can get stuff, but it's no the way it's cracked up to be.
But I mean, we used to say, people used to say, it's holiday camp, PlayStation 2s and all that, blah, blah. I played like every single PlayStation 2 game you could get. I completed it. I completed it like 4 or 5 times, man. Games like Final Fantasy and games that were on for ages, man. Like, I completed them 4 or 5 times, do you know what I mean? It's not like... I says, my big cousin actually says to me one time, it wasn't meaning it or anything, do you know what I mean? But he just says like... sounds like it's easy in there, know what I mean? Like, I've got this and that and all that. I says, no today. I says, fucking lock yourself in the toilet with a PlayStation for 2 nights. I says, just lock it and come out for an hour and like walk about the house, just walk out and see how you go on. And he kind of went, I don't know. I says, and that's no taking into account the undercurrent of prison politics. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's you just in your house yourself. So prison politics was probably the worst thing for me because I hated the drama and all that, and I hated like watching some of my pals and stuff get involved in shit, and like even yourself, you would get involved in stuff that you didn't even know you were getting involved in. Do you know what I mean? Like, so that was like the stuff that annoys me when people say it's a holiday camp. Do you know what I mean? It's like you really don't understand that. The prison, it's like, see if the people that went on banged up genuinely went into prison, they would get terrorised like real. Like they think they get terrorised there, right? That you know yourself, that's nothing. If I like boy Hitchens or whatever went in, right, he would get he'd be on protection within like a day, do you know what I mean? and then he'd be getting terrorised in protection because that's just the way it is. Like, I
know. Protection's probably worse than mainstream in terms of bullying.
A lot of guys, a lot of
the weak
predators.
Pick on the weak.
Totally.
So when you're in a place where the weak are, for the most part, you know what I mean? If you're seen as a weaker target, it makes people feel big about themselves.
Definitely.
I mean,
like I was obviously, you get that mindset, you just never go to protection, do you know what I mean? But it's like you do get that feeling where you're like, you know that protection's worse when you hear, you see, because obviously guys are going there and they are weak, do you know what I mean? And it's a shame because they're no built for the prison, do you know what I mean? And I wasn't built for it either, but I managed to adapt, and I was lucky enough to adapt. I was lucky enough to have people that looked out for us. Some guys don't have that, and they go in and they're just like bolt. And so see these guys that were on banged up, they would really, that's why I think as a justice minister or somebody who's working at that level should go in and experience it just to see what it's like. Like, you're only going in for a week. If it's that easy and if it's that hard and you're dishing out fucking 10 years and all that the way you want to do for it, go in and experience a week.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? And then come out, and then if you say still have the same reasons and still the same mindset, then go for it, man. But it's as you said earlier, it's not a vote winner. And that's the sad thing, is because you're not going to get anybody that comes out and tries prison reform, do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And a lot of guys will go, a lot of people don't deserve it. And I get that, I get, like, but this is the debate you need to have. It's dead easy to get divisive on it and get like heated and no, you should fucking, like, try not to get heated about it, try and just imagine it for each point of view, and if you come to that point of view at the end of it again and you go, no, fuck them, they deserve it, like, they deserve, right, that's fine, but you've thought about it, you've empathised, you've put yourself in that position, you've thought about it, and you've still came to that conclusion, that's fine. But don't just go run with what a fucking red top newspapers telling you.
That's what it's all based on, the papers. And
totally.
You're like, come on, if you're believing everything you read in the papers at this age, then you've really not get much hope.
Mental. I don't get why. I mean, so obviously some papers are better than others, do you know what I mean? But like you just, I don't know how much. Why? Just take a wee moment to just think in your own head. What do you think the reality of prison is? do you honestly think it's a holiday camp? Or the people that you know in your scheme, that everybody knows, working class people know these people, right? They know the people that go to jail. Imagine that person, 100 of them in a hall. Do you think that's going to be a fucking holiday camp?
Plus as well, see what I think Banged Up done to show quite well. See when you watch anything about jail, or whether it's like a dramatisation or it's like a sort of reality show like behind bars, it always shows activity.
Aye.
Always shows like exercise, association, education, work. What Banged Up showed was Sid Owen was just lying in the cell with the telly on.
Aye.
Just lying there. And
Aye.
that's what you don't realise, it's a lot of just time in a cell.
Aye.
With nothing today, you can't get out. You're looking for ways to get your door open.
Aye.
And then you're getting patched, maybe you've got education. Or there's been a fight in the route, you've not got education.
Aye.
You've geared yourself up, you need to go, that's me sitting in the Peter Roy after then. It's like, people don't realise that side of it, just been locked in that room and not been able to go out.
Look at that big guy that came in with a Wagwan and all that fucking nutcase, him for Gogglebox.
Oh, at Marcus.
See, he walked in, he was like, Wagwan and all that. I went, I mean, this guy thinks you fuck. See, like that again. In reality, if you walked in like that, he did get lettered like really quickly. He did get lettered. Do you know what I mean? Like it's the reality of the situation is you couldn't do that. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if that was a real prison, people would have been like, what? like who the fuck are you talking to? And I don't know if he changed his opinion. It didn't look as if he changed much. He was still of the view, it's a choice. It's this, it's that, and. Aye, alright, for maybe some, but see if you've grew up for your 5-year-old and you've got two parents who are addicted to drugs and you've been battered every single day of your life, your mom's getting battered, and there's addiction issues in the house. You go into care at 9-10-year-old, you maybe get sexually abused, you maybe get like physically abused, whatever, and then you hit 13-14, you hit the streets and you've got nothing else bar your reputation, and you're trying to build that up through whatever. What is it you're expecting for that person? What is it? Where is this guy that is saying it's a choice? How's that a choice? Do you know what I mean? The only choice that he's getting is addiction or somebody showing, look, you need to really reverse here, man, and you need to like reverse back a lot because you've got a lot of accepting to do here, man. Do you know what I mean? For you to accept that was the way your parents treated you, for you to accept that that's the way, like, the system that was supposed to protect you treated you, that's the way the streets treated you. Why would you expect that person to be any different? Mm-hmm. It amazes me why people go, it's a choice. Aye, it's a choice for some people. I get it, and it becomes a level when you get to a certain level of crime or whatever, where you do choose to maybe go into organised crime, whatever. Aye, that might be a choice, but that again, I still don't believe that MD sets out to be like a drug dealer and all that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not the way you grow up. Do you know? You might develop that thought process, maybe 12, 13, and watching the guys in the scheme with the big motors and going, that's what I want to be like that. Mm-hmm. But it's not a choice. That's I always say it. Where's the guys in the jail for fucking Mulgine, Bearsden, and Jordan Hill and all that?
No.
I don't see any of them.
Few and far between.
Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You don't see any of them. Like you don't go like that with you for me.
You never really see them. If you do see them, that's like in and out, like maybe driving offences or something daft, totally. And it's like the odd person. But it's like you don't really see them doing the longer sentences, the bigger stretches of that. Or maybe if it's once in a blue moon, you get the odd guy. And he's maybe for the rougher part or something like that. No, but there's always something. There's never, unless times you found before that somebody's in for fraud.
Aye.
So what do they call it? White collar crime.
White collar crime.
So you get somebody like that, and you just see it in them. You just see you don't fit. And then sometimes you're the ones that end up in protection. But they've got money. They've got money, and they're willing to buy, because you find a lot of these people. See, if they've got money pals. And they basically buy pals, or if they buy drugs,
totally.
Then it's like, if they're buying drugs and the drug dealers keep them sweet, the drug dealers usually the one that's kind of got a lot of pull in the hall, so they're want to keep them on side, not on top of it. So if he's basically paying him, so maybe it's not so much I'm paying you for protection, but in a way it is.
It's a roundabout way. Paying, if you've got money, then you're going to, like, I think it's more the American jails are maybe worse for it. I think for what I've heard, I think you go in there, and I think if you've got money, and especially I know a guy who tried to bring a parcel back from Venezuela and got caught. And so I think he got 6 years earlier. And he says when he went in, he says Sean, there was no fucking screws, nothing. They only run the outside of the prison. He says they don't come into the inside unless they're like with guns and all that. It's like it's all gangs that run inside it. He says, but the top guy in the prison, the guy that ran the prison, came to me and says, "Listen, this is how much it is, and you'll be staying here." He says, "Mate, it was like it was kind of like a fucking hotel I was staying in." He says, "But I was protected." He went like,
so what was it, like charging him rent?
It was nothing. It was buttons, but it was like £50 a month or something.
Oh, right, so he was like, basically, you pay this and you can stay in this
this,
bit and we'll look after you.
Aye, in Venezuela. But he says if you don't have money, like you're
gone to the jungle, basically.
You're really just. I don't even think you have a Peter. I think you're like basically.
Really?
Aye, it's mental. He actually says it was easier there. He says it was easier there than it was in Scottish jail.
Why is that? Because they can control it?
Aye, well, he says he could just do he says he'd pay, if he could pay, it was like a £5 or not, and he was done with his missus, so he could go and see his missus not for the day, and stuff like that for a £5 and stuff. He could go and spend time with his missus and all that. He says it was it was a lot easier. He says it was
I suppose it's, as you say, it is quite small amounts, but if you're like somebody you see like these like birds or that, it get kind of groomed to do these things, like you've not really got much money on you, your family's not got much money in that, man. It's like you can end up in a really sticky situation.
No, he said it, like for violence levels and stuff like that, he says it doesn't even compare, like, but he never seen it. He says I never seen it. Like it was always you heard it and stuff, but he says I was like, it's because I was paying this guy. You know what I mean? Like it was just like you were just left alone. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I suppose that's always handy having a top guy looking after you, but there's some places that probably you get into like that, you get money, geezer. You're getting your throat slit, and it's like people doing like 3 life sentences. You're like, right, this guy's not getting anything to lose. He could literally do this, and his life probably wouldn't change very much. Maybe get put in, I don't even know if they have a segregation area there, or maybe just move him.
I know.
No, I mean, it's like...
it's a different boat, and obviously people... obviously that's why you're like guys like your Pablo Escobars and stuff like that are terrified to get out to America, because as soon as they get put in America, you're no getting out of there, and you're no paying screws off, and you're no getting what you want. Do you know what I mean? Like you're no living the life of luxury, as in the way they can live in a prison.
Look at El Chapo, because when he escaped and he's been put back in jail now, and it's like his cell is, it's like the jail has a jail inside it, and he's inside a cell. He goes out for exercise, he gets out this wee cell into another cell, essentially, just a bigger cell to walk about. It's like I don't even think he's got a window. I think, is it no get like a TV or something that shows him outside, or is it?
I don't even think he's allowed. MD's allowed to talk to him. I think it was the same as like John Gotti and that. Do you know what I mean? I don't even think they were allowed to talk. Do you know what I mean?
Imagine that though. It's like, imagine.
I think that's why a lot of the criminals are terrified to go to America.
Because that's literally like getting placed in hell. You're literally just isolated for humanity, or just it's even. Because
when I was in prison, I met a guy who was getting transferred about. He was actually part of the. See when. Bosnia and that, like we heard the Slobodan Milosevic, you heard him, like it was like the Serbian president. So I
remember there was a lot. I remember my pal telling me a lot of Bosnians came to his school. So he's about my age, so about 20 years ago. So it must have been a lot of people who emigrated here from Bosnia.
So again, I'm no like I might not be 1,000,000% right, but it's kind of similar to like the Palestine thing. I think like what's happening in Israel and Palestine. I think it's similar to that. So what happened, I think, is Slobodan Milosevic was elected, and he was like a kind of he didn't like Muslims or whatever. And I think there was a sect, or it might not even have been Muslim, but there was a religious sect of that Serbian population that he didn't like, so they committed a genocide. It was like Arkan and all that, like Arkan Tigers and all that. It was like a big thing back. So Milosevic was like one of the last guys to get done with like war crimes.
Right.
So one of the guys that was working with him, a mayor that like let it all happen, he was in shots with us. So
really? What was he doing out here?
Blago Simic, his name was. So he was doing 20 years, but because it was war crimes and he got done in The Hague, he had to do different sentences and different bits. So he was in Holland for a while.
So they send you about to there? That's fucking wild, that.
He hated Scotland. Why? Hated it. He just says it was shite. Hated it. Absolutely hated it.
But was it just his experience of Scotland being in the jail?
And listen, he just kept himself to himself. He was very, very clever. I played him a few times at chess. Do you know what I mean? He was really good at chess, man. You couldn't beat him. He was a machine, man. Like, I think it was actually like, might have been like some chess champion or something.
Right.
Very, very clever. Knew a good few languages and stuff. And obviously it was interesting talking to him. Do you know what I mean? Like, interesting conversations with him. But again, like, he hated the Scottish system. He despised it. He really didn't like it.
What was that about it he didn't like?
He just says that it was again, it was like I think he was, I don't know, he says Holland was probably his favourite, and I think he'd kind of, I don't know if he was in Spain or something, I don't know, he'd done like a few different jails, do you know what I mean, but he certainly wasn't a fan of the Scottish one, do you know what I mean, he was trying to get moved as quickly as he could, and again, that shows, that was like, the NIC was probably the easiest part of my sentence, I would say. Shotts was probably the best prison I was in. It was like, it was there was a bit of respect on both sides for, like, kind of, just because everybody was doing a long time, there was a bit of respect for the staff, and there was a few staff there that weren't there to help. If you asked for something to get done, it would get done. If you stepped out of line, then you'd get punished. Do you know what I mean? I don't believe in a punitive system that way. Do you know what I mean? But like that's the best I've seen it working. Do you know what I mean? Like, when I was in Shotts, that was probably the best I've seen it working. I just don't think you can punish addiction and trauma out of people. Like, it's impossible to do. Like you can punish somebody a million times over, but if they've not done that inner work on themselves, to get over their addiction problems or to get over their traumatic experience, they're going to keep playing out that same kind of role, do you know what I mean, that they've played. So that's what I see. I just see constantly guys like that will come in and out the system. And let's be honest, if you're a good criminal, you're outside, aren't you? Like,
that's what I say to people. James full of people that get caught. That's all it is.
It doesn't mean you're like, there's loads of like organised criminals that have had massive kind of task forces on them, if you like, do you know what I mean, that have had no opportunity but to get done, do you know what I mean, because of the amount of money that's put into it, and the amount of clever criminals I've seen in the jail is unbelievable. But the jail is, there's a lot, it's full of, I'd say 95% of the people in there are probably guys very traumatised, probably learning difficulties a lot of the time, probably isolated when they were younger. That's the type of people that I noticed in prison, do you know what I mean? I didn't see anybody with massive family connections who believed in their cell, who believed that they could do anything bar what they were doing in prison, you know what I mean?
See, we were talking about like a lot of how the major criminals are scared of like the American prison system, and you went on to that mayor. What made you connect the mayor to that?
Just because I was thinking, obviously, Milosevic went on to he killed his cell, didn't he? Like, allegedly killed his cell. I don't know what, you could believe whatever you want with that one, do you know what I mean? But that was like it was a big case, and I always kind of, I think I was just thinking like how you can say America and all that, it's this terrible system, right? And
but it's all perspective, really.
Aye.
Right. I thought you were going to say he'd mentioned something about it, or maybe he'd been.
Look at Tookie Williams on death row, right? And if you look at Fritzi Horseman, if you look at her Compassionate Prison Project, it's amazing. Do you know what I mean? And then you've got Bad Boy and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Look at these places. Look at the stuff that they're doing, and you'll see real change in people, real empathetic, compassionate change in serious criminals. Do you know what I mean? I'm talking about guys that were like
top flight.
So I think it's all it's how you perceive it, and I don't. To me, the prison system's built to fail. You're not built to make it in there. Do you know what I mean? You're built to make it if you want to go on and be a success as a criminal, or if you want to learn how bad behaviours, then you can learn that all day. Don't get me wrong, and I'd like to mention like Natalie Logan and stuff like that, because Natalie did in the recovery cafe in Berlin, and we were there to help that, and I did that was something that I did see huge change in.
I went to the recovery cafe when I was in Berlin.
brilliant.
It was good. It was a really good thing.
The safe space that you get in there, Jordan, you know yourself, it's just like a wee day after the jail.
Aye. And so you go up, and it's one of the few occasions you go up and there's no screws in the room.
Aye.
The screws sit, and the screws obviously know the script like that. Listen, it's like they're supportive of the project, but you go in and it's just that kind of breakaway.
Aye.
Which
Well,
is
look at the. I had David Heyman on the podcast on my one, and he's played Jimmy Boyle and stuff like that on. He was in Top Boy and that, David Heyman, so he's done like a few crime things. And he used to go into the special unit in Berlin, and obviously that was like the worst of the worst of prisoners, if you like. And what he says, what a success that was. He says like there used to be kind of celebrities going in all over the place, and it was, he says that the creative side that would come out in them. He says there was like so much empathy, compassion, understanding, and that prison project get pulled because, again, public perception, public seeing it as an easy route, which again, I get it. You can look at it for that angle and say, no, they shouldn't be getting it and all that, and there is a good argument for that. I'm not trying to like say there isn't. But if you want change, you need to think out the box. You can't keep
you want
thinking.
change, you need to change.
Totally.
You need to change something.
You need to change the way you think, and you need to operate in a different manner, and you need to navigate your own belief system and say, is that, because we're not talking about your personal beliefs or your personal beliefs. I've got personal beliefs on certain crimes that I don't like. Do you know what I mean? And I would struggle to say, I let them away with that, and like be compassionate and be empathetic. I would struggle to be like that. But again, if you want like this change, like then. It's a hard one, because I do struggle with that one. Do you know what I mean? Where you go, is that really like? But if you really want change, you need to like think outside the box. You need to challenge your own belief system. You need to challenge your own way of thinking, or you'll just kind of get consumed by something that's. I think it's very easy to get consumed by that thought process. Do you know what I mean?
So see, when you went to Berlin, that's when you eventually moved into the Tap End. How did things go for there, like coming up for the home leaves and that kind of thing? How did it feel adjusting to coming back out after all that time in jail?
It was like, obviously the home leaves and stuff are amazing, do you know what I mean? And some of the staff in Berlin were great. Some of them are fucking brutal, man, like really bad, man. But again, I was lucky enough to get a kind of personal officer. It was alright. The success rate in Berlin is shocking, man. Like the amount of downgrades is unbelievable. Like if it was any other business in the world, it'd be shut down in 2 seconds because of the fucking failure. How you can have somebody up there attempting their 12th time at Tap End and you're considering that a success? It's beyond me, man. I don't know how you can say that, but I managed to navigate it. Me and a few of my pals who kind of stuck together through the whole kind of system, and through Natalie's recovery cafe, I changed a lot of my ideas, and meeting people at James and stuff like that, and just listening to other people. I managed to start trying to accept my partner my family were a massive part of that. So I was very lucky with the network I had. I had a massive network of support. And I still do, you know what I mean? I still have that massive network, I suppose, so I'm very lucky. And I understand that that's maybe what the reason that I can move on that wee bit, do you know what I mean? I've had social work that have been really supportive of everything I've done as well, do you know what I mean? So, I think it's because they know that I'm trying to portray a message. It's not, I see like the prison system, see when I'm going on about it, I'm no pure down on them. Like I don't know how you run it, do you know what I mean? I'm not saying, like, I know I've got a magic wand that could fix the prison system. It's a fucking nightmare. Like, it is actually a pure nightmare, like, to try and fix, especially with public perception. You've got how it runs, the prison politics. You've got so much to take into security. You've got so much to take into consideration. But when you keep attempting something and re-traumatizing people all the time, that, like, you need to stop, man. Do you know what I mean? So my experience in Berlin was massive shift in power dynamics. That was really hard to adapt with because you were coming from Adwell. Staff spoke to you in a certain way where they knew they could speak to you. There was a lack of respect with a lot of the staff. That got even worse in Castle Huntly. But overall, like, there was some really good people in Barlinnie, do you know what I mean? And I think it's mad to say, but I think Barlinnie's probably the most progressive prison in Scotland now.
Really? How so?
Just with the recovery cafe and stuff like that, and just how I think Mick Stoney, I think, is quietly trying to recreate. I mean, what's going on in the women's prisons now is amazing. If you see, I mean, you don't hear about it, but what they're doing is they've got small blocks of people that are getting watched, so there's a lot more time and stuff and effort that can get put in them, do you know what I mean? And I'm hoping that they're trying to backdoor that into the guys' prison system, be shown this is a success here, look. But I don't understand why you're building another big super jail in Glasgow then. HMP Glasgow was, because you're not building that. There's clever people, especially when economics come into it, so they've done the sums to say that there's enough crime here to build another big prison. So essentially you're kind of investing in crime, if that makes sense, because you're not setting up another big massive prison to no fill it up. So they know it's going to get filled up. So how can they be fixing the prison population and all that the way they go on, and how can they be saying that we're fixing crime when they're building new jails? If you were doing that, you'd be shutting jails down. I
know, 100%. It's as you say, it's not really solving the problem, or that money could be used, be better spent, is what I'm trying to say.
Totally. I think I had Karen McCluskey on the podcast. Karen, brilliant man. Like, Karen's such a progressive thinker. She's really clever, and she's very honest the way she talks about the prison system and how the challenges that it comes with it. And she's Sarah Armstrong's another one that I've had on the podcast. Great people who have been asked by the government on numerous occasions, what would you do differently? But you know yourself, Jordan, I was in Pullman, I've been going to fucking groups to try and change the prison, and it's not changed. Like, there's nothing in it that's changed. It's still the same system. But what they do is they change programmes. They'll change like a programme, right? And let's be honest, man, who the fuck's going on? Who's telling the truth on these courses? I know. You're just telling them what they want to hear, so you don't get another course. They know that you're talking pish. You're talking pish to them. They know you're talking pish, and then they're just ticking the boxes to get you away. What's the point in that? When you could actually be trying to change it, do you know what I mean? It's pointless, do you know what I mean? I don't get it, do you know what I mean? I don't get why you go in and invest in that. But listen, it's no, as I say, it's not an easy thing, and I hate saying it because I've got a lot of people that I like now in the prison system, and a lot of people that have been very supportive of me. So I don't it's a hard thing to do. I just, if anybody is watching this that even would listen to me for like 2 seconds, I would just love you to just try and put yourself in the position of being in that place. Watch something like Banged Up. Do you know what I mean? And try and just think about it, and see if you don't want to watch it and you don't want to do this, and you've got that opinion of just lock them up with bread and water. I don't really think you should have that opinion then, because you've not really done your homework. If you do your homework and you come back with that, then that's fine. But it's like, talk about Israel Palestine, you know, it's like that. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like so blatantly what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? They're just wiping a fucking full generation of people out, and genocide. Do you know what I mean? And people are just accepting it. Do you know what I mean? And it's complicit because you're no there. If that makes sense. It's like if you took the Troubles. I'd say that if you took the Irish Troubles and the British thingy just blew a hospital up in Ireland and just went, there was a couple of terrorists in there, but there would be massive outrage because Ireland's dead close to us, it's Western, it's thingy. People disassociate themselves because it's the Middle East and go... But
that's just what it's like out there.
That violence that we can't... Like, I've been in prison for a long time, and the violence that's happening there, you can't even comprehend. See, like a cluster bomb and all that destruction that does, that's violence that people who are running our country are putting us in prison and saying we're the dangerous people, and they're willing to do what they're doing in these places, and they can call us the criminals. I don't know, like, how you can justify that, but
a bit hypocritical in it.
to say the least, man, isn't it? Like,
Totally.
especially when you see like Tony Blair and all that, and then, you know, they were lying about the weapons of mass destruction, and I mean, you could go into it deeper. Do you know what I mean? It's a massive rabbit hole that you go down, and you get lost in it if you go down it. Do you know what I mean?
100%, man, 100%. See, can you take us forward to when you got your parole?
So the parole, I obviously it was during COVID, Jordan. So when I went up for parole, it was like right in the midst of COVID.
Right.
So it was weird because Castle Huntly was probably like probably the place with the most freedom in Scotland at that time. We were like getting the gym, playing football, and because we were coming in there as like a house, we were coming, so, and in Castle Huntly you're opened all the time, so we were like allowed out a lot, and it was like probably like the only time that you were in prison that you were freer than anybody in the community. But so when I went up for parole, scary. You're going up, you know that you're going up in front of like people, and you're going to have to go over stuff that you don't want to like talk about, stuff that you don't really want to talk about, and so that was hard. And then the waiting aspect to it and stuff like that, just going up to it's very very, very hard, and it's hard to navigate with, like, when your anxiety comes on, you suffer depression, you start probably disassociating and getting scared of coming out, and people maybe say, oh, how do you scared to come out, like how's that, because you're coming out to the unknown. It's like we spoke earlier about when I went to my granny's funeral. That was like that was mental. That was like nuts. That fucked my head up so badly, because I seen how much people had grew up, and just like people how much time had moved on. Do you know what I mean? Plus losing somebody that was so close to me. But that was like a terrible, terrible experience for me. And obviously I lost all my grandparents in the prison, unfortunately. But that was like that was just a mad shock that I wasn't ready for. So I was kind of scared again, like, because I knew when you go on your home leaves and stuff, I was with Fiona all the time, and it was like we were always doing stuff. It was like I kind of knew it wasn't real life, if that makes sense. I knew it wasn't how real life operated.
Like a honeymoon period almost.
Totally, mate. And you were going to like the cinema and you were doing like all.
I had stuff all planned out.
You had planned it, like you were going here, like zoos, and so it was all great stuff you were doing. When I came out right into COVID, it probably helped me a wee bit, because it was like a luxury to me. Like, I was locked in the house, and I was with my missus, and I was like, it was fine. Like, I'd never had the pressure of prison politics and stuff, so it gave me a wee bit of time to adjust. And I know other guys have had really bad experience, but I've not had a bad experience with the social worker and all that. Do you know what I mean? I've been quite lucky that way. Social workers have been really supportive of me, and now I've managed to get myself into full-time employment, stuff like that. So I've done well, do you know what I mean? But that whole adjustment period is huge, and I don't even know how I don't know how I'd have done that with MD. See, with the network I had, I was so lucky. Like, I had a lot of pals rallying about me. I had a lot of kind of my family were all rallying about me, and everybody gave me my space that I needed to kind of hang it, and everybody gave me what I needed financially, like all this kind of stuff, because I wasn't like, I never had a job, so I was very, very lucky, Jordan. Very. Not everybody's got that.
No.
So that's where I was very lucky with the network I had. So I understand that. That's probably gave me a better perspective than most for coming out. Know what I mean?
What was it like when you found out you got your parole?
I was elated, man, but I was scared and all, mate. I was fear and all. There was a lot of fear, man.
Did you struggle when you first came out? Because when you find after all that time in jail, it's like, actually, as you say, you came out, it was during COVID. Was there at any point you felt I don't like this?
Aye.
The freedom? Was it kind of like, I'm not used to this, this is a bit, just felt abnormal?
There was one of the times where my family, who they're I'm really close to them, like, it's like I'm part one set of my cousins and stuff, and he didn't mean it, do you know what I mean? But my cousin asked me, he says, "You want to come round and see us?" And I says, "Aye." And when I went round, he told all the like his like immediate family and stuff, so they were, everybody was there, and I was only out a couple of weeks, and I was dead uncomfortable, like, and I think a couple of my cousins realised that and noticed it, but I was really it was dead uncomfortable, like I was sweating and all that, and my missus was like, "Sean, just like, come on, we'll go," and like she could see it in me, do you know what I mean? That happened a couple of times. Like, I remember just going into the kitchen, and one of the times with my man, and like with me, my man, my missus just all greeting in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Like, just, and it wasn't joy. It was joy, but it was. We all knew we were in for a struggle. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we were all. And then my dad came in, and he was greeting, and it was just like. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it was just like everybody realised that there was a journey here that wasn't going to be easy, you know what I mean? And it was like a realisation of that journey that wasn't going to be easy, and that there was parts of me that I had to shed, and I had a lot of accepting to do, and a lot of kind of stuff that I really needed to do to move on. And I think it was frightening, do you know what I mean? But again, I was so lucky with the support I had, do you know what I mean? Like, I always had like guys like James and all that, and Natalie, and people like that, and all rallying around about me as well. So I had organisations and stuff rallying about me as well. I was so lucky, Jordan, do you know what I mean? And I totally believe it's the only reason that I'm here today and I'm able to speak about acceptance and stuff like that, do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I certainly don't I'm certainly not the finished article, man. I've got so many demons that I need to work with. But no, it was very, very hard process to come out and start over again. It was very hard, and I still struggle with it, mate. I still struggle to this day with it, bro.
How long have you been at?
3 years now.
Is that 3 years you've been at? You still struggle with it? Aye.
Oh, I massively struggle with it, man.
What are the things you struggle with?
Just some days I got up, man, I'm like fucking. Just like, I don't know, like, I mean... Just
the pressures of life, just not having anything kind of done for you as such.
Aye, and I do well, like, everybody always says it, like, "Sean, you're so hard on yourself, like, the stuff you've achieved, and, like, the way you wear your heart on your sleeve, and you're vulnerable, and the way you're open, and you'll talk about things, and it's the only reason that I do it is because I want to change. I want people to see that this is it's no a good life. It's a pure terrible life, and it's got so much obstacles in the way, man. When you come out, it's like if you could actually go back to the people that you knew in Pullman, right, and think about where most of them are now.
I do think of that, and most of them are still either fucking in deeds or fucking
massively
very,
addicted.
very few of them. I don't even know many of them that are doing all right.
And if you want to take in doing all right as being involved in organised crime, then I don't take that as being all right.
Being all right, just put the jail, like, fucking maybe get a job.
Aye.
But no, like, pure, like, no, I mean, thriving at life. If you're still involved in the criminality aspect, I wouldn't class that as really doing all right.
No, it's up to you, you know what I mean? But I'm like,
still in a kind of a fucking trajectory back.
I still think that you're no living an authentic life doing that.
No.
See what an amazing thing somebody told me today, and I can't remember if it was about Michael Singer or whatever, but it was one of the most kind of humbling things that I always stick by, and I tell people to do it. See, if you imagine yourself as like 100-year-old, right, and you're like, so say you're 100-year-old, and like you've got your wee grandson comes up to you and he goes like, "Granda, tell me about life, man. Like, just tell me about what do I do? Like, tell me." See if you write down what you would tell your grandson, and the values that you would instill in him, and the kind of way that you would want him to live his life and stuff like that. See if you're no living your life the way that you've wrote that down on that bit of paper. You're going to be in conflict, because that's you. What you've wrote down is you. That's your value system. It's your whole way that you think you should operate. So if you're not living like that, then you're going to be in conflict. There'll be something. There'll be like anxiety. There'll be some sort of disassociate, whatever. There'll be something going on in your life that you're not. If you're not hanging, and that's where I would say like you need to forgive and you need to be the bigger man and you need to like try and that's the stuff that I struggle with. So I get, do you know what I mean? I struggle with that sometimes. So that's where my demons lie. Do you know what I mean? But not. It was really hard. It was really hard, man. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done is try to readjust back to normal life. But as I says, mate, like I was so lucky with the support network I had. So I was.
What gave you the idea to start the podcast?
So I've always kind of see with the I've always kind of like thought about it, right? And like I was always like, I watched some podcasts and it's up to them the way they do it. Do you know what I mean? Like and I kind of see like glorifying crime a wee bit and stuff, and people interested in hearing that side. And I was like, I'd like to do a podcast where you could see the other side of it, like success stories, people like becoming their authentic self, people finding people that are willing, that are there, that want to help, public figures who are there that are interested and believe in justice, people that were, do you know what I mean? So I had a few good contacts to start it, so I was like, I'm going to run with this and see where it goes, and obviously it's done quite well. Do you know what I mean? It's done all right now, and we're obviously looking to the future. We're hoping that it's going to go quite well, Jordan. But no, that was kind of where I got the idea, is just to kind of run with like a positive message and try and put that positive message out, so that maybe you could open that debate for change. Do you know what I mean?
100%, man. As you say, there's that many podcasts that do glorify the crime aspect, but they don't show the other side.
Aye.
And I think that's a big thing, because being a young person watching this kind of stuff, you think that's the life I want to live. But once you see the other side, like stuff we're taught about, like the harsh part of jail, and it's the reality for everybody.
Aye.
Whether people want to like admit it or not, it's the reality. Like sitting in a cell yourself with no hope,
Totally.
no way out. You can't get out. Nobody's, because I always say this, like nobody comes along when you're in jail. The minute you've started to find it difficult, you're like, right, this is, I've got it.
Aye.
I've understood what this is about. This is me getting punished.
Definitely.
Nobody comes along with a wee wand like, oh, is that you? Go learn your lesson. One will go, one will get you out. And whether you learn your lesson your first day or your last day, you're doing that sentence however long it is.
Definitely, mate. And I think that this is the part that it's like the young ones that I love, that I want to, like, that's where I would like to kind of aspire to get the change in there. That's where you need to get them, man. Like, I'm not saying like guys can't change. I've seen guys changing, some guys that I would never have thought could change. Do you know what I mean? I've seen some guys like flourish, man, like amazingly, like, and it's such an amazing process to watch. And I think if more people were to see this, more people were to see the success stories that go on, I think it would maybe change their opinion and going, do you know what, like we could maybe help prisoners. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to help everybody. Like it's the same as in any walk of life. Do you know what I mean? You're going to get people that are never going to hang it. But see if you see these success stories, and imagine the papers were printing stories about like success stories. This guy's doing great. This guy's done that. This guy's done that. It would change that kind of social awkwardness of going, no, but no, everybody in jail's bad. Do you know what I mean? Because it's dead easy. Why they fucking are? Like, the fucking bastards do this and do that.
What they in jail for then?
I know.
Smart asses, you're like that, mate. It's like, some people just don't want to hear it.
Totally.
And that's nothing you can really do for them, but there is people that are ready to hear it, or people that are on the fence that don't know.
Aye.
As you say, a lot of people are curious.
Definitely.
But they're curious about everything today, about like, right, why do people go to jail? Why are they in jail and I'm not in jail? What happens there? And then when you peel back the layers, you're like, oh, wait a minute. And then you'll not have empathy for a criminal that violently assaults somebody. You get empathy for a child that gets assaulted by their dad, their parent, or gets sexually abused.
And that's where you need to go.
And they're the same people.
Exactly.
You know what I'm talking about, but we don't see it when we look at the end. And that's not me justifying.
It's a great way to put it.
I'm not justifying crimes, but
it's like, a great way to put
once you peel it back, you're like, all right, wait a minute. So if we can stop this, arrest this at the start, we can stop this.
Totally.
But it's all wounded people.
If you take, think of the whole, as you say, is people are always interested in crime, right? Like it's always going to be, right? People, it's films and all that, blah blah. Tell me a film at the end when the criminal wins.
Nah, never.
There isn't any. Like I don't like all the best ones. Like all of them, like either they'll get killed or they'll go to jail for a long time or whatever. Do you know what I mean? There's very few that success story keeps going. Do you know what I mean? It usually ends somewhere, and it usually ends in a bad place. And no, everybody in crime's a bad person. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of good guys that are involved in crime that just don't fit in anywhere else. Do you know what I mean? They don't fit in anywhere else. They don't know where to fit in. And you offer somebody that amount of money and then say go and work and like at a job like for a couple £100 a week. A lot of guys will be like, fuck that, I'll do this. Do you know what I mean? Like I've got I've got a family to look after, they've got this, I've got that. So there's so much to take into account. It's not just as easy as saying if you're involved in crime you're a bad person. Do you know what I mean? Like you could say that about politicians. Like if you're involved in war you're a bad person. But somewhere down the line we okayed war. Like we said that was alright to go and blow up a country. I don't know when that became okay, but that's where the social norms that we need to change for prison.
Aye.
We need to try and get that social norm to change where you can have the debate that war, there's a place for it, but don't abuse it. You could have that debate about prisons. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to have that awkward kind of that thought about prisons or everybody's all bad. I'm sure Tony Blair's got loads of nice sides to him, do you know what I mean? And maybe not right, but George Bush and these Tory politicians, and look at Russell Finlay and stuff like that, guys like that and all that, they come out with some good things at all, do you know what I mean? But this hardline crime thing is the selling point for people. Like this is what sells votes.
Crime does sell in every
what I mean?
aspect, where the war stories on podcasts that get the views,
Aye.
like in the tough punishments and politics, they get the votes.
Totally.
But it's like they're both negatives. But it's like trying to talk about, and it's like how do you talk about it in a positive light? It's hard. It's like a hard thing to talk about positively, but you can turn this negative into a positive.
You need to do what you've done. You need to peel it back and look at that child and see the journey that they've made and feel sorry for that journey and empathise with the journey and have compassion. You don't even have compassion for the act that they've committed, but have compassion for the journey that they've came to and empathise with that. And I can guarantee you 9 times out of 10 if you sat and listened to somebody, you would be like, oh, fucking hell, man! I don't even know what to say to you.
It's very hard to hold the same opinion. I realised that and banged up with a lot of the celebrities. When we heard people's stories, they were kind of like that. It was like a light had just been shown them. Like, wow, it was eye-opening, an eye-opening experience. So tell us about your book.
So my book is Authenticity and Chaos. It's basically it's my journey through prison and basically how you can't be your authentic self in prison, and I kind of try and use a lot of people like Gabor Mate and people that I love to be influenced by. Do you know what I mean? Like great people like Nelson Mandela, people like that. Do you know what I mean? And I try and use their work to kind of say and look at like compassion and try and look at it and try and explain my journey through it and how easily it is to get swallowed up by a system that's really set out to fail, do you know what I mean? And how prison life just is really fucking horrible, man. Like it's no anybody that sits on a podcast or sits on a television show and tells you otherwise, I'm not fully believing, mate. But that's only my opinion, you know what I mean? They might fucking love it, do you know what I mean? I don't know, but I've not seen that, and I know some hard guys in the prison who'll tell you that it's fucking shite. No, I've never met anybody. I mean, guys will come out and, as you say, it sells, do you know what I mean? To sit and say, I done this and it was easy and it was this and that. I think if you just peeled that wee layer back a wee totally bit, then you would see a different side to them. But again, that's their reality, and it could be that's the way they find it. Do you know what I mean? That's the way they find it. That's not the way I found it. So my book's just basically I kind of run through the prison, trying to take you through my journey of how I lost my authentic self, and the ways I lost it, and the reasons I lost it, and the kind of background to how it's virtually impossible to be authentically good and have that awareness and mindset that you would want in a prison.
See, for somebody like yourself, I don't know what way you've been able to identify like your experience or what label you've managed to apply on it, because there's many ways you could probably. For me, I try to kind of look for the meaning in things. Why did this happen? Or what is this to teach me? And I think you're a testament to you've went through one of the toughest experiences anybody could go through, probably up there with, if not the toughest. But you've managed to kind of use it as a purpose. Let's see with that experience, you've managed to kind of turn it into your purpose with a podcast. You've written a book. You're trying to open up the conversation for social change. And I find when you can make sense of something, if you can apply meaning to it, and it's only meaning for you to understand in order to kind of come to terms with it in a way, right, this happened, as much as it has happened, how do I come to terms with it? I can try and use it as a positive experience, and I think you're a testament to that because you have done that, and you're doing it, and everything you say in this podcast. So I feel with that kind of way of identifying your purpose, it does bring meaning to your experiences, and for somebody, and that's something, as you say, and you're looking at people, like time isn't a healer in this respect unless you're doing the right things. When you're looking at people 40 years after they've done the sentence, they've still got that bitterness will just eat you up, as you say.
It's it's hard to see victim mentality. It's one of the worst mentalities that you can have. I spoke to Anne-Marie Ward, right, who's runs Favour UK. She's brilliant. I love Anne-Marie, right, but she said, like, people that go through trauma and all that can dine out on that for the rest. I could have come out and became an alcoholic, and I don't know, obviously, like the social work and that might have got involved and stuff, but like people might have felt sorry for me and went, oh, like that guy done that, so he's got the right to be like that. He's got the right to feel sorry for himself. So you could dine out in that the rest of your life. Do you know what I mean? Or you can look at yourself and go, I'm not going to be a victim anymore. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to take the bull by the horns, and I'm going to try and start operating my own way of thinking, and I'm going to start believing in myself again and start hanging, because that victim mentality only takes you so far, and people get fed up with it. And that's like, I've seen, like, as coming for myself, people get fed up with a victim mentality. Oh, poor me, I shouldn't be here. People get fed up, do you know what I mean with that? Do you know what I mean? It's not a nice mentality to get lost in. It's very justifiable to get into it. Like, it's, I'm not trying to say anybody that's in that mindset, like, is weak or anything like that. I mean, it's so strong to go through any experience and be able to do it. But I just think there comes a time where you need to step out of that victim mentality, and I feel as if I'm doing that. Do you know what I mean? I feel as if I'm stepping out that victim mentality and trying to just kind of like operate the way I would like to operate. Do you know what I mean? And have a bit of clarity about my life, rather than just constantly going on about why did that happen and that shouldn't have happened to me and all this kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? There's like plenty of wee lasses out there that like are terminally ill, and we boys are terminally ill and stuff. So you can only let like these people, and you see these wee children getting on with it and fucking living their life. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sitting fucking moaning about something that I'm out now for and all that. So I think it's trying to just, you mentioned it, it's perspective. Do you know what I mean? It's trying to see it in perspective, and stop looking at yourself as a victim, and start believing in yourself, man. Like that's what I've done. I think
it's one of the things as well. Sorry, but I hope you don't mind me saying this, but it's like you look at, in terms of a custodial standpoint, you lose 15 years of your life to it, but if it's something you sit and dwell on, there's a lot more of your life you can lose to it.
Aye.
Just because you're out of jail doesn't mean you can't lose time in your life to it, man. So it's how much time you're willing to lose to it.
Totally. No, you could lose. I mean, your whole life. If you, it'd be understandable for. Listen, I've got pals that are out and struggling and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And I don't have, like my heart goes out to them. Do you know what I mean? My heart goes out to their family. Like there's plenty of people out there that are like that they've living in that victim mentality, and I feel sorry for them all. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying anything about it. It's just that I came at a time, and I go back to my support network. I was very lucky, and I know that's what changed me. I know that's what was there for me, and I was allowed to change. Do you know what I mean? I was given the time to change. I think that's a massive difference. I think I was allowed to change and operate, and hopefully can I live a life that I would like to live, rather than letting my past rule my life. Do you know what I mean? That's what I think. You need to move away from the past is done. I'm never going to be able to change the past, but I can change the future.
Aye, 100%, man. 100%, man. It's a fair play to you, man. You're definitely using your past as a motivational tool for yourself.
Aye.
To spark change in yourself and others. I'm going to wrap up the podcast. Is there any like last messages or wisdom or that to like the youth or that, or anybody out there? It could be in any facet of life, or some like kind of message you want to pass on.
I just think, honestly, like, listen, I think anybody that's sitting there that's struggling or going through any kind of thing, I think you just always challenge the narrative that you're getting fed. Do you know what I mean? You get fed a narrative for a society that's sick. Do you know what I mean? Our society's sick. We're living in a society where there's a massive economic difference between poor. We've got poor people, we've got massively rich people. We're getting shown on social media like how the rich live and how depressing our life is. It's not all like that. Do you know what I mean? I think you can take the good in yourself, and always, if you believe in yourself, I think things fall into place. I do believe in the law of attraction. I think you attract into your life what you believe. So I think if you change your thought process, and I think just for the young team, just try not to be inspired by the wrong people. Do you know what I mean? I know it's easily done. I know it's hard, but it's really no a fucking life, man. It's the worst life ever. Honestly, I can't explain enough, man, how hard and shit fucking jail life is. It's fucking brutal.
I can attest to that. I'll back you up on that one. I'll second that. But so it's been great having you. It's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, man. You're an inspiration to so many people, and for what you've came for, as I say, it's one of the worst things that can happen to you, and you're doing a great testament to yourself, to your legacy, and try to spark change and do something positive with it. Is there anything you'd like to promote? Where can we find your podcast? Where can we find your book, the audience, if they're looking, if there's anything you've got upcoming that you might want the audience to know about?
So I've obviously got my podcast, social. It's called Social Sessions, and it's on YouTube. It's on Acast as well, so you can get it on Audible as well. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, like, you'll be coming on at an Austin, Jordan. So it's doing well, and there's some good podcasts there. Some great podcasts on trauma, all the kind of different stuff that we spoke about today, and how some really inspirational people on it. And then obviously my book, Authenticity and Chaos, is basically just about my time through prison, and if you're interested in how hard that is to be that authentic person that the system want you to be, then that's what I try and say in that book. But no, thanks for having me, Jordan. It's been brilliant, man. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Pleasure's all mine. But that's Sean Toal, people. Like, subscribe, and don't get wide. Catches.